Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Wednesday, and here we are with episode 503.
Yeah, we've got people that are in the chat that are excited about this one. And other people are saying, I never heard of her. Don't worry, man. I never heard of her.
I
either.
had never heard of her
I never
either.
heard of
Like,
her either.
Zach actually recommended this
Yeah.
topic, and I'm glad he did because I don't know if I probably would have found it eventually, you know what I mean? Like, just looking around for stuff. But it's like, this was a really interesting, it's just a really interesting story because this woman, I feel like she was in many ways like really ahead of her time. And it was just kind of one of those things where had she been a little bit later or in a different place or something like that, like she might have been really huge, but it just never happened for her. And they didn't really rediscover her stuff until I think it was like the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And which we'll get into, but I listened to a bunch of her stuff. You can listen to her songs on YouTube, and they were just recorded, like in a house or something like that. They're not like super like studio recordings or anything like that. But man, she was like, I mean, Rolling Stone called her like the Bob Dylan before Bob Dylan, like before Bob Dylan was a thing.
What year was this?
She was active in the 50s,
Okay.
and
This was a long time ago, yeah.
she was kind of one of the first people, if not the first person, to do kind of that very spare, confessional sort of folk music
Yeah.
that really didn't become popular until like the 60s,
Okay.
like with Joni Mitchell and stuff. But she was doing that like about a decade
Baez and all
before.
that.
Yeah, and like, but she never really hit it big. She never really, I mean, some of it might have just been, she was a very introverted person. She was a very private person.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe it just wasn't in her to, like, be famous or anything like that. Although it did seem like she wanted to make her mark doing that.
Mm-hmm. And she disappeared without
Yeah, and then,
All right.
Compounding the mystery, in 1974, she basically packed up her car, wrote letters to all her friends and family saying, like, essentially, don't look for me, and has never been seen nor heard from since.
Weird. Okay, so we'll get off into this one.
And I mean, and I doubt, and, sadly, I doubt very much that she would still be alive now. I mean, if she was, she would be like 102 or something. Not impossible, but,
no,
probably
she's gone.
unlikely. But yeah, there's, most people have speculated she probably didn't go off and start a new life somewhere.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
We're getting into it. I'm sure you guys can tell by the sound of Jen's voice that we're still sick.
I feel a lot better, but I still feel a little
We're getting a little bit better.
weird.
Yeah.
I'm not on anything
Right.
other than alcohol, which helps. But it's like, I'm not on Benadryl or anything like that.
It feels like we got our asses kicked.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't usually get sick. It's like, it's a pain. It's, it's just kind of an inconvenience, but you know what I mean?
Some kind of nasal infection.
Yeah. So it says if my voice
really
sounds funny,
trashed
that's
her
why.
voice, yeah.
It did, yeah. Like, if you remember, like, Monday show,
Right.
I could, like, barely talk. And, like, over this weekend, I could barely talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
All right, so where you want to begin this? Man, it looks like we got a lot of people in the fucking chat.
Yeah, Tara Michelle
Yeah.
says polymath. Yeah, so you're familiar with her then. That's another thing, too, is that not only was she a musician, she was also... I mean, she was one of those people that could, like, was, like, multi-talented. She could do, like, anything. And she was, like, really, really smart. And, which we'll get into. So, I don't know. Like I said, she's kind of like... I've seen her also compared to, like, Sylvia Plath, maybe. Just because she seemed like she had, like, a lot of, depression, melancholy, that kind of personality. Which, like I said, probably didn't help matters, but all of her stuff, like I said, most of her music is on YouTube, and like I said, it's quite beautiful, actually. It's just her and a guitar, and it really does sound like, I want to say it just kind of sounds like weird, like out of time sort of thing. But it's really interesting to see, like, how when she got rediscovered, people were like, holy crap, she was doing this, like, way before. Like, folk music got really popular. And you have to think, too, that it's like in the 50s, I kind of feel like they didn't really know how to sell her. There wasn't really any, there wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, her being...
50s was doo-wop music.
Her being a... Well,
Rock
and her being a woman and her not being, like, super glamorous or anything like that. She just looks like a regular... You know, she had glasses and she wasn't, like, all into, like, dressing up or anything like that. She just looked like a little... Just a regular little lady. Like, with the glasses on. And I think they really didn't know how to take it. Or, like, they thought they couldn't market it.
You'd be surprised. They were able... They probably could have marketed her.
They could have, but it's like they didn't want to risk it, I guess.
She probably could have done pretty well locally if she was in a big enough market. But, you know, hard to say. 50s was a time of rock and roll, though. Nashville.
Yeah.
So where was she from?
Well, originally, she was from New Hampshire, but she was, when she was doing music, she lived in New York City.
New York City? Okay, yeah, you could have done something there.
Yeah.
That probably would have sold okay.
Yeah.
She could have done with, like, Simon and Art Garfunkel and shit we're doing.
Yeah, but, like, you know, much later.
Much
like,
earlier.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy to, like, listen to it now and think, holy crap, that was, like, the 50s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That somebody was doing that. Because you didn't really hear that until, like I said, until, like, later. Like, I feel like they didn't really... You know, I mentioned, like, Joni Mitchell before, and, like, maybe, like, Leonard Cohen or somebody like that was doing shit in the 60s that was more, like, internal and, like, and I feel like even Bob Dylan isn't a great comparison because Bob Dylan was, you know, he did, like, protest songs. He was a lot more political. She was political, too, but in her other life, she didn't really put that in her songs. A lot of her songs were very personal, you know, about her own feelings, and some of them were like almost like proto-feminist, like in a way, but like in kind of a funny or like a darkly humorous kind of way, I want to say.
That would have sold probably.
I feel like it probably would have, but like I said, nobody really wanted to take a chance on her.
Especially in New York, because there had been places where she could have performed live.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is like even back in the 50s, there's always niche audiences for pretty much anything. It would have been harder to find back then for sure. But it's like, especially, you know, in New York City, I mean, you could have found anything, really.
Yeah, she could have, some of the places where they were doing, they were doing jazz in the 50s, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the jazz places, jazz musicians, beat writer type places, and that kind of shit. Fucking cafes. She could have done pretty well. Just didn't get hooked up with the right people, probably. And she could have adopted a look, you know. She just needed somebody to get her out there. Good management could have got her out there, probably.
I mean, she had friends helping her, but it just...
She needed a pro.
Yeah, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad, because I think she wanted that and just ended up giving up on it.
You know, a professional manager, though, is going to fucking go for an act that's already selling. Oh, you're one of these. I can sell you. But something that's brand new, they're going to be... they're going to move you down the totem pole a little bit because that's too risky.
Yeah, and I mean, you still see it nowadays. It's like less pronounced, obviously, because, you know, there's a market for pretty much anything. Yeah. Just depends on how big of a market you want to target, you know what I mean? It's just that. But I feel like, especially back then when things were a lot more centralized, if there wasn't a pre-existing box they could put you in, then they didn't really want, because, how are we going to sell this? How are we going to market? Who's going to buy this? Like, they didn't really know the market for it. And they didn't really want to learn, or they didn't want to try.
She was a few decades too early.
Yeah, I feel like she was at least 10 years
Had she been around when Warhol and all them guys were around, she'd have done a lot better, probably.
Yeah, like had she been born a little bit later, like that might have worked out. She could have been able to
scene, you know, ended up with the Velvet Underground and shit.
Yeah, which that would have been cool, actually. That would have been cool.
Velvet Underground, if you ask me, was proto-goth.
Oh, big time.
That was the beginning of the goth scene.
I don't even think most people would argue with you about that.
You listen to some of that shit, like with Nico and stuff. He goes, "Yeah, that's kind of like
all the early goth bands listened to the Velvet Underground and Bowie and the Stooges, depending on what kind of genre they were in. I feel like more death rock and punk bands listen to the Stooges, but
goth bands covering fucking Velvet Underground songs and shit.
Yeah, I feel like Yeah, I mean Christian Death cover like Susan the Banshees.
Yeah.
It's like, didn't Bauhaus cover a Velvet Underground song?
Probably.
I knew Nick Cave did. He did All Tomorrow's Parties. But apropos of nothing, speaking of Nick Cave, I was on Tubi last night, and we had been listening to some music, some Strawberry Switchblade and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I want to watch some like music documentaries. And I went on Tubi. Holy crap! They have a fuck ton. I found on Tubi for free a documentary about the fucking birthday party, Nick Cave's first band, who I love. I love the fucking birthday party. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. And it's not that old. Like the documentary was just like, I think it was K of 2023, something like that. And it was great. And then they had one about the Smiths too. I watched that one also. That one was older. I think that one came out in 2006. I think it was called Under Review. And they also had a Joy Division one. They had one about the Damned. They had one about Syd Barrett. Then I was like, holy shit. I was like, I got all kind of stuff I gotta watch. They had a bunch of other ones too that I was just kind of like, I think I'll watch the Damned one like next because I kind of want to see that. But man, that birthday party one was really good. Like if you're into them, if you're not into them, it's not gonna win you over because they're kind of an acquired taste. Let's put it that way. But I loved it. I thought it was great. But yeah, the Smiths one was fun too. Although they just had like, it was mostly like people that knew them, like their sound engineers, like Stephen Street and like their producers and stuff, like talking about their singles and their records and stuff. It wasn't really about like them personally or anything. It was mostly about their music, which is fine with me. Yeah, CB said if Connie Converse was still alive, she would be 101 years old. Yeah, that's what I was thinking because she was born in 1924. So, I mean, it's like, it's possible she's still alive. I doubt it. I think that she, I don't know, this is a spoiler alert. I don't really think she had any intention of starting a new life. As sad as that is to
You think
say.
she went out and killed herself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Either that or somebody killed her.
That's possible, although they haven't found any evidence of that, like, over the years.
Well, let's hear it.
She is on, she is listed as a missing person. You know, on the NamUs thing, the National Missing Persons thing. But there's really no evidence of anything happening to her. They've never found anything. No car. They never found her car. They never found her body. They never found any evidence that she was living anywhere else or nothing. So we'll get into that. Mm-hmm.
No boyfriend? Was she straight? Lesbian? Do we know?
No one's entirely sure. Her family have speculated that she may have been a lesbian and that she was kind of but they didn't know. Yeah. Most of them said we never really knew anything about any romantic relationship she had. So it's possible that she didn't care about it, or she was just really private about it, or she was gay and she didn't want anyone knowing. Yeah. Or, you know, there's a lot of possibilities.
Okay.
But they said about her personal life, she was very, very private. But her family has speculated that she might have been a lesbian. Yeah,
probably what it is.
But like I said, they don't know. They're like, we're just, you know, we're just speculating. Like
back in the 50s, probably. They don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because that was you forget like how kind of
that was a stigma back then.
Yeah, big time. And honestly, like she didn't do anything wild or nothing, but even just some of the shit she did, like her family for sure didn't approve because she came from a real religious family. Yeah, well, I feel like that's mostly her dad was kind of like that.
Well, right there, that's another reason to keep shit under wraps.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear about it.
Zach says she's someone whose story I think would make a great movie. Yeah, it actually would. And actually, a couple of years back, someone wrote a biography of her. They did like a box set of like all her music and stuff like that. Because like I said, it's been rediscovered, and you know it's on Spotify and shit like that, so you can stream it, and it's got like millions of streams now. Because I think like her story kind of slowly started to filter out. And I think because she disappeared, I think that was kind of a big thing too. You know what I mean? But yeah, like she didn't really get rediscovered until I think it was like 2009 when like a guy who had been friends with her, who had actually recorded her songs, like, you know, at the apartment or whatever, like with his reel-to-reel. And he was on a radio show in New York City. And I think it was like mid-2000s or 2009, I want to say. and he played some of her songs on air, and everyone got kind of interested, like, wow, that's great, like for 1954 or whatever the hell it was, and so he kind of started championing her work, and then I think that she kind of slowly started to like filter out, because then people found out that she had disappeared and all this other kind of stuff. So she was initially born. Her name's actually not Connie. Her name was Elizabeth Eaton Converse. She never liked the name Elizabeth. They called her Liz or Betty at home, or her brother. She had 2 brothers. Her brother actually just called her Sis. I've seen some interviews with her brother Philip, who is actually quite a well-regarded political scientist. I think he's passed away now, but yeah, and he would often talk about her with great admiration. So she was actually born in Laconia, New Hampshire, like a pretty little town, in 1924. And she had an older brother and a younger brother. And her dad was a Baptist minister, very strict. And he was also pretty active in the pro-prohibition movement in the 20s. Like
temperance.
He was active in the temperance movement. So you can see what a stick in the mud he was just from that.
Fuck that.
I was like, come on, there's so little joy in life.
Can of worms there, man.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, by all accounts, but I mean, at least from what Philip said, because like I said, I watched some interviews with him where he talked about her and he talked about their upbringing. He said, our parents, the mom was like a homemaker, as a lot of women were back then, but she had been to college and she was very musically inclined, which they think probably was passed on genetically to her daughter. But he's like, they were very strict, but they weren't, no one was abusive or nothing like that. He's like, they were around, they were supportive, they were good parents and stuff like that. But he did say that he was a lot closer to Connie, his sister, because he was younger. That they hung out all the time. They would read Shakespeare, do Shakespeare plays, and all that kind of stuff. So they ended up moving to Concord, New Hampshire, and the dad, like I said, kind of strict, but he was into education, so he did really encourage like kind of intellectual pursuits, which probably helped her a lot. Because Philip said of her, he was 5 years younger than she was. And he said, I would call her a polymath. And he said, and I don't say that lightly. It's like she was essentially a genius. She was like really good she was super, super good at school. She just a voracious reader. Artistically, she could just do anything. You know what I mean? Like, she was just good at everything.
Yeah, that's already spelling disaster for a woman in the 50s.
Yeah.
Think about it.
I was thinking that exact same thing.
Yeah. She's not going to have much to choose from. That was a low information era.
Yeah.
And dudes were very much in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then what she had to select, what she had to choose from, wouldn't have been too good.
Yeah, I feel like
she's probably bisexual.
A lot of women in this era, I kind of feel like I was really doing them a disservice, because if you had women like this that were that intelligent and that restless and just wanted to do all this shit, like with her, she was fascinated by politics and history and she just read everything. And there wasn't really a lot of outlet, so I feel like you just get really frustrated, you know what I mean? Being put in these little...
Being Gen X, we're kind of used to the 1950s era getting shit on. The 1950s was a great time. A lot of cool shit was happening. But man, there was no dating scene as we really know it. That hadn't really happened yet. That didn't happen until the 60s, the sexual revolution. 50s was a little bit uptight, very much in the box, time of conformity and corporate power. And you had good dudes, but they were married young.
Yeah.
They got married real young. Everybody got married real young. So
yeah, they tended to.
Yeah, women in their 20s who kind of maybe had standards and an intellectual, future. She wouldn't have very many dudes to choose from. Guys would like her, but they wouldn't marry her. Yeah. Why marry her when they could marry some cute 18, 19-year-old who wanted to get married and have babies right away?
And he just wanted a clean house for them.
Yeah, and she just wanted to stay, well, they want to stay home and raise kids, but that's cool. But he's out working all the time, bringing home the bacon. But also fucking going to strip shows and fucking around and shit. Like, that's not, another thing is that all this trad wife and trad husband shit, if you actually read between the lines, the dudes of the 50s, they weren't too loyal. You know what I mean? Well, women were, but not the dudes.
They didn't have to be.
They didn't have to be. They had all the economic power. They had all the social power. And it was kind of like male tradition that you're kind of supposed to fuck around on your wife, in a way.
It's like, well, you nailed that one down. She's raising your kids and cleaning up your house and shit.
Now let's bring the party girls.
Yeah, and now let's go have some fun.
And they would bring in strippers and shit like that. And it was just like a tradition. It was like a bachelor party.
Yeah, I don't even think it was really like looked askance at.
Didn't even look at, yeah. And, you know, growing up partially in Brazil, you know, when I was in high school, in Brazil, Latin culture's like that. It's still kind of like that.
Yeah.
As far as I know. But you know, North American culture was like that also.
Yeah, but like I said...
The 60s and the sexual revolution kind of put an end to all that, though.
Yeah.
As soon as the birth control pill came out, the women just got as bad as the men.
Yeah, because they're like, we're not like...
yeah.
We're not like tied to pregnancy anymore. Fantastic. Now they're free.
Yeah, you can get out from underneath it.
I mean, you know, they're not 100. They're still not 100% effective. Just saying.
Yeah.
But like, they're way more effective than not using it.
Right.
You know what I mean? What are they? 99%, but 1% is still a lot. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I definitely feel like a woman like Connie, would have been in this era.
Yeah.
Kind of stymied from the outset.
She'd be an oddball.
Yeah. And, like, it's so cool, like, the way her brother, Philip, like, talked about her. Because you could tell that, you know, she was 5 years older. So he, like, really looked up to her.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and she would teach him things. And they would, like, read stories together. And he just thought she was the greatest. And it's like, and, you know, he's like, our parents were around. But, you know, they were parents. They were strict. They were kind of not super affectionate or anything like that. So I feel like him and his sister got, like, you know, got, like, really close and would, like... you know, do shit together, and they were interested in the same kind of stuff. And he was just, the way that he talked about her was just, like, really admiring. Like, he just admired her intellect and how she was just constantly wanting to learn things. And I thought that was really cool, like, the way he talked about her. And she was, like, really good in school. Like, in Concord High School, she was valedictorian. She won all of these awards. Like, at graduation, you know how they give out all the academic awards and stuff? The story goes that she won so many of them that people in the audience started groaning every time
she got them all.
Every time her name got called, and they're like, "Fuck off, her again." You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And her, so much so that her parents got embarrassed because they were like kind of modest, and they were like, "Oh man, all these people are like getting on," because there was only so many academic awards, and she got like the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, it's just funny because. They were probably like, you know, stop being so good at everything. Like, you're making everyone else look bad.
And unfortunately for women like this back in the 50s, they couldn't go out and fucking land a job that was paid enough to where she could support some beef arm candy dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where she's the breadwinner and he's the hottie. They couldn't do that back then.
No.
So, you know what I mean? And the nerdy guys would go out with another girl, not her. It's just, you know.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're kind of fucked all around.
You're fucked all around. Yeah, nerdy guy who had money, he'd get the blonde little hottie with the big boobs.
Everybody wants the hotties.
The hot little blonde, 19-year-old, big boobs, blonde hair.
Nobody wants the smart girl.
Nice gams, that kind of
shit. Back
then.
then.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's kind of fucked.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So, she did so well in school, matter of fact, that she got a full scholarship to Mount Holyoke College, one of the Seven Sisters, very elite women's colleges. Her mother and her grandmother had both gone there. And she got a full scholarship. And so she started going there, and she was studying literature and the arts. But she didn't really like the structure of it. Because I kind of feel like people that are this smart, they want to do their own thing, like at their own pace. They want to learn about this and that. And they kind of want to follow their intellectual pursuits without being told, well, you have to learn about this today or whatever. So she didn't really like the structure of it. So she was only there. She was there for 2 years, and then she quit in about 1944 ish. And she decided at this stage that she was going to go to New York City. She didn't go whole hog and was like, I'm going to go do the whole bohemian thing, but a little bit. And her family were, I don't want to say horrified, but they weren't happy about it. Because like I said, her family was very religious and very strict. And they were, proud of her intellectual accomplishments.
Yeah.
And she had got into this elite school and she was doing really well and stuff like that. But she was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to New York City and like hang out and be an artist or whatever. And they were just like, no. It was that kind of thing. It's the 40s. So,
yeah, well, the parents were like, well, what are we going to do with her?
Yeah.
What can you do with her? You can't marry her off.
Like I said, you're not going into one of the approved boxes.
Right.
You're out here floating around and we don't know what to do with that.
They're going to say, well, no, you're too dumb to go out on your own. They're going to say that? No. And then they can't marry her off, so they got to let her do what she wants.
Yeah.
I see why. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like their heart was in the right place. I don't think they were being jerks. They were being realistic.
Yeah.
But she just didn't want to do that. She just wanted to do her own thing. Now, initially, she didn't want to do music. She actually didn't really get interested in music until a little bit later. She actually wanted to be a writer. Oh, we got a, Zach gave us a super chat. Thank you very much. In the rare occasion where I can claim to be the smartest person in the room, it definitely does suck sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of... I don't know, like, I was just reading this story about this poor woman, and I was like, oh my god, she was, like, born so many decades, like, ahead of her time. Had she been born later, like, I think she would have been okay. But... It just didn't work out.
She'd been a lot better go through in the 60s.
Yeah, and like I said, and I'm sure that happened a lot because, a lot of women were probably born that were like, way smarter than they needed to be or way, they didn't want to do this, that, and the other thing, but like you kind of had to, which kind of sucks. So that's why so many housewives were like on drugs in the 50s. You can't really blame them. We're on Mother's Little Helpers and stuff. There's like, this is all that I'm getting out of life? Okay. And they're just popping pills. Yeah, so like I said, parents were not happy about it, but she wanted to go be a writer, do a little bit of the bohemian thing. So she moved to New York City. And at this point, she kind of dropped her real first name, which was Elizabeth, which she never liked. And her friends in New York actually called her Connie, I guess because her last name was Converse, so they were, riffing off of that. So she decided that was going to be her name now, so she just adopted the name Connie, like from her friends. Now, she actually was able to find work. She worked like just general like secretary jobs. She likes editing, stuff like that, and did some freelance writing as well. Matter of fact, she actually started writing essays on U.S. foreign policy because, like I said, she was very into geopolitics. She wrote for a publication called the Far Eastern Survey, which was published by the Institute of Pacific Relations. So she wrote a lot of essays about that. And, so she found work doing that kind of stuff. Like, she would work for, like, little, like, scholarly publications and write for them and edit them and stuff like that. So around this period, while she was working doing that, she had, like, a little bitty apartment, and she decided she was going to get into music. Like I said, she had some musical talent, which she had likely inherited from her mother. And so she taught herself to play the guitar and the piano. And she had also taught herself like other creative things like cartooning, painting, like all that kind of stuff. As far as I know, completely self-taught. She also started taking like these long solo road trips. Like she took one in the late 40s, like cross country, like by herself. And then she took a Greyhound across the Midwest and Mexico and the Deep South. Which, like I said, was again something that women didn't really do in this era. So you can see that she had this kind of wanderlust. She was always kind of like looking for something else, like something more. You know what I mean? Like having an adventure. So, and it's
bored.
Yeah, like I said, I can see that, you know, the strictures at the time.
What kind of stimulation could you get from 50s fucking regular mainstream media and entertainment? That shit's fucking mindless, most of that shit. So you have to read good books. And then the people around you, there's no internet, so they don't have the same information you've been picking up. So yeah, you're gonna have to move around.
Yeah, so she had
to find shit.
Yeah.
So she's doing the right thing for the time, I would say.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, her family wasn't happy about it, and it's like people probably thought it was weird. Probably not in New York City, but I feel like probably other people thought it was weird because it just wasn't something that women did by themselves like that, but like so much. So so she's living in Greenwich Village, and she started composing her own songs. The first of which they know is probably her earliest one, which was called Down This Road, which is from 1950.
I saw pictures of her going through their thing just a minute ago. She'd like Morrissey.
She probably would.
You look at her, yeah, she'd like Morrissey.
I feel like she'd have been a big Smiths fan. She'd been a Smiths fan. If she'd been around in the 80s.
Yeah, the way she's dressed. Her glasses and shit.
She reminds me, you know who she reminds me of when I was looking at her? She reminds me a little bit of Shirley Jackson, who wrote Haunting of Hill House and We Have Always Lived in the Castle, The Lottery.
She probably would have liked Morrissey.
And because I feel like Shirley Jackson, even though Shirley Jackson did marry, but she was real reclusive. Yeah. She had agoraphobia. She didn't like to go outside. And she had similar struggles with depression and whatnot. So yeah, and they maybe not, but they sort of look alike in my mind at least. So what she starts doing is she starts recording like demo tapes of her songs. And at first, she just sends them to her brother, Philip, and his wife, his name was Jean, who were living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Like I said, her brother actually later became like a political scientist, and he was like a professor at a college. So she would send him the tapes. And she had a reel-to-reel machine. And she would just sit in her apartment and record them. And I kind of feel like her stuff is kind of... It had a little bit of a blues influence, a little bit of a jazz influence. Like I said, it's kind of like... It's very spare, but if you hear it now, it's kind of interesting that came out in the 50s, because it does sound unusual for that time. And her lyrics are actually quite witty. You know what I mean? She would take like some traditional song forms and kind of do like narrative twists on them. Like I said, she had a kind of a dry sense of humor, but her songs are also kind of sad. Like they also kind of a melancholy to them. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like CB was saying that he had gone and listened to them too. It says you can't listen to it loud. Better if the sound turned down. Yeah, because like I said, it's not recorded on professional equipment. It was just recorded in an apartment, on a reel-to-reel. So you know, and it's just her and actually, if you listen to the one that they compiled like much later, which is what was it called? So Sad, So Lovely. And it has like 17 songs on it. And there's actually her talking like after some of the songs, like telling him like to set stuff up and everything like that, which I thought was kind of interesting. She could like hear her voice talking. So that was kind of cool. And like I said, some of her stuff is almost kind of like ironic or like proto-feminist, you know what I mean? Which I thought was sort of interesting. Like I said, she would take kind of traditional story songs and like kind of turn them on their heads a little bit. Very clever. But she didn't do, you know, you had guys like Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie, who were doing folk, but that, like I said, they were more protest anthems, that type of stuff, more politically motivated. Hers wasn't really like that. She was doing kind of more introspective, you know, singer-songwriter type stuff, which, like I said, didn't really become a thing until probably like a decade after.
Just her own experiences, huh?
Yeah, she was just kind of like, but like poetic.
Right.
You know? And I thought that was kind of interesting that you just didn't hear that back then. So she had a couple of other day jobs also. She worked at a printing house in the Flatiron District. Like she had apartments. She had one in Greenwich Village. She lived in Hell's Kitchen. She lived in Harlem for a little while. And she also started smoking and drinking, which, like I said, her parents were not big fans of because they just thought, oh, our little girl, she's gone off the rails kind of thing. So it was very scandalous, especially for the time. She actually, this is kind of interesting because I think that a lot of the stuff about her says that her father, who did not approve of anything that she was doing, had actually sadly never heard her sing before she disappeared. And they're not now entirely sure if that's the case because she did visit her family in 1952 and she made a tape of her singing for them, like for her mother and father. So I guess her dad did hear her sing like one time. But as I said, I really don't feel like they approved of what she was doing. So I don't know how shitty they were about it. Like I said, I get it because of the era. And they probably just thought, you know, what's she going to do with this? Like, when's she going to settle down and be a real person? Like, that kind of thing. But, you know, I don't know if they were jerks about it or not. You know, her brother in later interviews, he didn't really seem to have anything anything bad to say about their parents, so I guess it was all right. So, in 1954, Connie had this friend whose name was Gene Deitch, and he was a graphic artist, and he really liked, he had like all this cool like recording equipment and stuff, and he kind of knew her through the grapevine, and he wanted to record her songs. And he says she showed up for the session, like, just looking very plain, as he said. He has a plain dress on. Her hair was all in a bun. She had any makeup on. He said she looked like a librarian. But he had some other people over. They did these little musical salons, you know what I mean? So people would come over and then he would record them. And she came over with her guitar, looking like a librarian, and sat there and started playing and singing. And he's like, and everybody in the room just went dead silent, just like listening to her. And so he recorded a bunch of her stuff. Like, she came over more than once and he recorded all this stuff. And he kept these tapes for years and years. Fun fact, Gene Deitch, who recorded all this stuff, later worked on the Tom and Jerry cartoon, which I was like, that's so random. I love that. But yeah. And actually, he's kind of the guy that got her recognition many years later, like after she disappeared, because he kept all those tapes and they were preserved. And he's the reason that she became well known later on. And another thing that he did, also in 1954, was he actually arranged through his connections, he got her on TV. She was on the morning show on CBS with Walter Cronkite. And she went on there and she's on a stool with her guitar and played a couple songs. And it was, you know, national audience, live TV and everything like that. But it never really went anywhere. Like I said, I kind of feel like in 1954, audiences didn't really know how to take her, maybe. So even though he got her on TV and she went on TV, but it didn't lead to anything. Like, no one called. It didn't, I don't know. It just didn't do anything. And sadly, I do not think that the footage of that performance survives. I've seen a couple photos of it, but I don't think there's any video of it. As we've mentioned before, I think we even mentioned this on the Johnny Carson show and stuff, is that back in the 50s, TV was just TV. We're just putting stuff on. They didn't think they were going to save it. Like, they're like, why would you save it?
They didn't think it was important.
They didn't think it was important. They just, like, tape over shit or they'd stick it in a vault someplace or...
Yeah.
And it would, like...
They were used
degrade.
to live theater and live performances. You did it, it was gone. Didn't matter.
Yeah, they didn't. I don't think they could imagine any reason why anyone would want to keep it.
Yeah, the idea of like saving something for posterity or they didn't think that way.
Now, like nowadays, if you found some of that shit in your attic that was still viable, holy crap, you'd probably be a millionaire. But
yeah, people got to remember there are whole Hollywood movies that are vanished. They're gone.
Lots of them.
Lots of them. Gone.
Especially from the silent era.
Yep.
Because they made that shit on silver nitrate stock, which is very, very flammable.
Yeah. Probably good horror movies lost.
Oh, I'm sure.
London After Midnight's gone.
Yeah, there's like I've seen like an 8-second clip of it.
Yeah.
It looks cool just from like the makeup and the stills and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're ever gonna find that.
That's gone.
I was watching one that was Russian, and it was cool actually, but there's only 12 minutes of it. And I was like, that 12 minutes is great.
Yeah.
Wonder where the other hour is. You know what I mean? They can't find it.
Yeah, and Phantom of the Opera, it's gone. The version that we have is a mismatch of a bunch of different Phantom of the Operas that had been rebooted many times during its play. It started off as a silent film.
Yeah.
Then they changed it to a talkie. Then they edited it. They edited it. I think they were showing that movie, I think, for a couple of years, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were editing it while they were showing it. And
yeah, I think people...
We don't know what the original was like.
I think people forget, like, back in the early days of cinema...
Yeah.
They would show, like, if movies were a hit, like, a couple years later, hey, throw that one back on there.
Show it again, yeah.
They showed all the Universal Monster movies and all. They would show them, like...
Yeah. The version of Phantom of the Opera that we do have with, what's his name, Lon Chaney, I think his name is?
Yeah.
That's actually like a mixture of 3 or 4 different versions of it that they built, mashed it together. And it doesn't quite make sense. There's a scene where a guy's in a cave. You can see he's saying something, but there's no words. And it's because that was from the silent version when someone would be underneath there fucking saying what he was saying out loud. There was supposed to be some special effect, but they left that in there for some reason. Crazy edit. But I would like to see a definitive copy of it, but evidently there isn't one.
I mean, maybe you would never
quilt.
You never know. Like somebody might find one in someone's attic someplace. It has happened. But
they said so much shit is lost. The newer scenes in Phantom of the Opera were better than the older scenes, and they were just adding shit to it as it went. I think there's 3 different versions that we do have, but it's still a patchwork quilt of a bunch of different versions of that movie that they were showing before, which is amazing to think about it. That we don't have the original.
Yeah.
Gone.
Like I said, I'm sure that's very common.
Yeah.
Here's a crazy fact about older movies that I just learned today. I don't know if this is true or not, but I just read this randomly someplace. But it said prior to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho in 1960, movie theaters didn't really have like set start times. Like they would just play the movie like on a loop. And you would just pay, and you'd come in. And then you'd come in, if it was the middle of the movie, you'd be like, oh, well, I'll catch the beginning. Which seems dumb, but like, okay. But, because of Psycho, and he didn't want anybody seeing the end, because it was a big twist.
Yeah.
And he didn't want people getting mad that Janet Leigh gets killed like 20, 30 minutes into the movie, even though she was like a big selling point. So he had a thing like no late entry. So that was kind of like the first time. Like I said, I don't know how accurate that is, but I read that fact.
Probably sounds accurate because in the early days of theater or movies, you went to the movie so you could to get out of the rain a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Or to sleep, because a lot of people were homeless.
True.
So what they would do is they would pay to go into a movie, and they would sleep in that theater.
You could just lay in there all day.
Laying in there a couple of hours, and then come back out.
So it was kind of comfortable.
Right. And who are you to turn down dollars? You know what I mean? Somebody walks up to the window. Can I see the movie? Here's my money. Yeah, go in.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, get in there. Because you're just there accepting money.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense to go, no, you can't come in until the next showing. That would have seemed crazy back in those days. Because movies was just their version of television back then. Can I watch the television? No, you can't watch the television. the program hasn't started yet. Well, no, I just want to watch some television.
Yeah,
that's how crazy it was.
I don't give a shit what it is.
Because, I don't care what show it is. I just want to watch some television,
Just turn it on in the middle.
We can't take your money. You have to wait here for another fucking 45 minutes, and then you can come in. No, they're going to let you in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all they were doing.
But then I was thinking, I was like, when do they clean the theater, though? I guess, like, at the end of the day, but, ooh.
They might do it at the end of the day, or they might do it during there. Just sweep it out a little bit. I don't think they sold concessions, did they?
Yeah, I'm not sure when that started. They did. Because it's like now they have to like clean out the shit because everybody leaves their fucking trash.
My understanding, a lot of times in big cities, people were going in there to sleep. Yeah. Because it was cheaper than a room. And they go in there and maybe sleep for a couple shows before somebody kick them out. And that was their sleep for the day. Wild, huh?
I mean,
And you could get out of the rain. And if the weather was bad. And they didn't have AC, so I guess it was pretty warm in there during the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. But,
I think some of them did have AC, though. Which might have been a big selling point.
Yeah. Yeah. When did the AC come out to the theaters?
Yeah, 50s? I'm not sure. Probably, probably way before people had them in their houses,
so that would have been 40s, maybe. Maybe 40s. Have a look into that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, like, when it was more... Because I know commercial air conditioning was... A lot of businesses had that, like, prior to people having it in their houses. Because, hell, my grandma's house was built in the 50s, and it didn't have central AC.
Yeah.
She just put a window unit in later on.
Yeah,
we live fucking Florida.
Florida could not be habitated until the advent of air conditioning. You had people here, but they lived in misery, and the population was small. It was Dagobah.
It still is, but at least now you can sit there.
Yeah, and it was all swamp and fucking mosquitoes.
Yeah.
So,
It's pretty miserable. Yeah, Gramper says movie theaters also played news and celebrity pieces between the features. Yeah, they would do, like, shorts, like cartoons and newsreels and shit like that, like, between every iteration. But yeah, I didn't realize that they would just play the shit on a loop. Like, there wasn't, like, a gap.
Well, it makes sense, because that was TV for the time.
Like, once I heard that, I was like, yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah. And it was based in vaudeville. Vaudevillian theater was kind of like that. Little acts, one after the other, all day long. So you could probably jump in at any time.
You could just pop in and out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you could get your entertainment for an hour or so and then leave.
So kind of like the old school equivalent of like scrolling through TikTok videos or Instagram shorts.
Yeah.
Like little short bursts of entertainment.
Yeah. Vaudeville.
So that's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, the whole idea of an epic feature-length film, that didn't happen until later.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because people would be like, people talk about people with no attention span nowadays. I'm like, dude, like movies back then were like barely an hour long.
Yeah, and that was like considered a full.
Like now you go and see like fucking Marvel movies are like 3 fucking hours.
Yeah, and I think most of the movies were little 5-minute shorts. The little shorts, little animated films, little. What were the ones that we were watching made out in California? It was. Not Charlie Chaplin, it was the other guy. Him and his girlfriend were making them. They were good.
Harold Lloyd.
What was it?
Harold Lloyd.
Harold Lloyd, yeah. You can watch them for free. They're actually very good, and they're kind of relevant. Dating.
Some of the stunts, holy crap.
Dating, trying to chat up women, being a simp, all that shit is in there. Lying to your parents that you're going to go out and get laid. All that shit's in there. You're like, man, this is pretty...
They're very entertaining.
Yeah, they're like, this is pretty racy. You know what I mean? You read in between the lines what's happening there.
I found them very entertaining.
They were kind of family-friendly for kids. A kid wouldn't catch the innuendo.
Yeah.
But they're talking about getting laid. Uh-huh. And you could tell... And it's all been cleaned up, so it's nice and clear. You know what I mean? It's all been upscaled. And it's funny how modern the people looked and act at the proper frame rate when it's all clear.
Yeah.
They look good. Yeah, Lloyd. That's his name, right?
Yeah, Harold Lloyd.
Harold Lloyd.
Yeah, he's probably like the second most famous, I guess, like after Charlie Chaplin. Gramps gave us a super chat. Sorry. Thank you very much.
But the Harold Lloyd film was about 10 minutes?
Yeah, they were between...
10 minutes?
They were generally around 10 minutes long. They had a bunch of them on Amazon like a while back because we watched a whole bunch of them.
I
don't know if they're still on there or not.
And then Our Gang... or Little Rascals, that's about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was ad-libbed, and it's good. But so they would play all that kind of shit. It's vaudeville.
Yeah. Mango says, well, to be fair, the silent version of Ben-Hur is well over 2 hours. Yeah, I guess it kind of has to be.
That was epic. That was an epic.
And the Lon Chaney Hunchback of Notre Dame is also at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some long ones back then.
Yeah, those were epic movies, though.
But a lot of the horror movies
most
and stuff
were
like
short.
An hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that one German movie was pretty good. The one with the somnambulist, the fucking sleepwalker. What was the name of it?
Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari had all that Bauhaus stuff. That looked good too. And that one was long. Wasn't that about 2 hours?
That's a cool ass flick. I don't remember how long that was.
I think it might have at least an hour and a half from what I remember.
Joe Saturn says some New York theaters had air conditioning in 1925.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was earlier. Like commercial air conditioning was a lot earlier. I don't know how
they did it. They must have done it a different way.
Yeah,
waterfalls going through fucking pipes and the fans blowing on it.
I guess I'm
not sure if they had compressors and gas compressors and everything.
Now I'm kind of interested in the history of air conditioning.
Maybe they did. I know the first person that had their own private air conditioning for homes was fucking what's his name? Fucking that damn millionaire. The guy who fuck man. The guy who lived in the fucking penthouse and fucking
with the jars.
Yeah, with the jars, pissing in the jars, in the theater, and living at the fucking Sands Hotel.
Yeah, with the long fingernails.
The long fingernails. Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes was the first guy to have air conditioning installed in the house. The jars. Out in California, yeah. Old Hughes. Wild motherfucker. Which I have a lot of respect for Hughes. Smart man. Just took too many head injuries. Multiple head injuries. From fucking car wrecks and motorcycle wrecks and airplane wrecks.
Yeah, you can only bonk your brain so many times before it starts like kind of messing you up a little bit.
He wasn't crazy. It was just multiple head injuries. TBI.
Yeah. Well,
he didn't know though. He thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
Which I think made it worse.
Yeah.
I think somebody told him, "Look, man, you're not crazy. You just have a brain injury. There's a difference." You know what I mean? Fucking,
although the outcome is kind of the same.
The outcome's kind of the same, but he didn't want to be known as that.
As that crazy person?
Yeah, as the crazy dude.
But he couldn't help it.
He would go crazy and he would have to hide.
Yeah.
And him hiding that he had TBI
made him seem even crazier.
Made him seem even crazier.
Because they're like, why is he in there like peeing in jars and keeping it?
He didn't want anybody to see him.
Right.
He was calling girls on the telephone. He had a telephone out there in the theater.
Want to see my pee jars?
Yeah. He would be calling starlets and shit.
Can you imagine?
He'd never meet him. He'd just talk to him.
Stop calling me.
Yeah.
I don't care how much money you have,
put him in a movie. He'd never put him in a movie. He'd just hire him and talk to him. That was his phone line. His phone sex line.
That was his phone sex line.
Yeah. I don't think he had phone sex with him. He just flirted with him.
Yeah. He just wanted somebody to talk to, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Kind of sad.
He couldn't come out of that would only go on for like a year or so at a time, though. He wouldn't be in there forever. I think he was in there. That was because he was awaiting trial for the Spruce Goose thing.
Yeah.
And that really fucked him up. But he won that. They accused him of basically bilking the government out of a bunch of money behind the Spruce Goose development. But he didn't. He delivered the plane. It's just that they didn't need it by the time it was ready. Just funny shit, you know. He was an interesting guy.
We did do a show about him, didn't we?
Yeah.
I thought we did.
You could do all kinds of shows about Howard Hughes, different angles of Howard Hughes.
That's true.
The weird shit that he did. He had a whole... I can't talk about Howard Hughes right now.
Yeah,
he built a whole installation to guard
and
a
then
fucking... to have a room to guard a fucking chest. And then later on, decades later, they find out that chest is nothing but just fucking Roy Rogers or fucking Red Ryder comic books and shit. With
those
douches.
Could be worth a lot of money.
With douches. Women's douches with dates on them.
Gotta save that shit for later.
You're saving that shit. And people are like, what the fuck is all this douches with dates on? Because he wouldn't go down on a woman until she douched. So he was putting a date on that.
And those are so bad for you.
He was putting a date on when he was going down on some chicks. He thought that was some wild shit. He thought that was super wild to do that. That was the fucking dudes, man. Dudes throughout the ages with their weird of what they think is fucking cool. You know, it's fucking funny shit, man. He thought that was some fucking cutting edge sexual activity.
Like he's the only person that it thought.
Yeah, it was some cutting edge sexual activity go down on some chick. You gotta record that.
I'm like,
gotta record that shit for posterity.
Now that's
it's like a man walking on the moon.
I was like, now that's just like standard. Like, you better be doing that shit.
Not in the era he came from.
No, I know.
Fucking weird.
Probably didn't have a car to most people back then.
Yeah, those poor girls.
So he thought he was like some kind of...
Those poor girls. Let me go ahead and get you another drink.
Okay. So where was I? So yeah, so she was on TV in 1954. And you know, her good friend Gene, he set it all up. She's on TV. It just didn't result in anything, sadly. Like I said, I'm not really sure why. It was a popular show, like a lot of people saw it. But I don't know if it didn't make an impression or people didn't know what to make of her or what. So, over the next couple of years, she actually started shifting more to piano and composing songs on the piano. She had moved to Harlem at this point. And she put together this kind of tape, which she called Musics, Volume 1 and 2. And she had some of her guitar songs on it and some new piano songs. And she didn't make it like for, you know, to be released or anything like that. She made it for her brother because, like I said, her and her brother were very close. And it was pretty much, I kind of feel like this was maybe her final musical statement, perhaps, because I kind of feel like by this point she'd been doing music for several years and it just wasn't really going anywhere, much to her disappointment. And I think she had finally realized that it just wasn't going to happen, maybe. And so I think she compiled all these songs to send to her brother as kind of like a, well, this is the sum of my life's work kind of thing. I don't really know. I mean, she did keep performing through, you know, the end of the 50s. She would do stuff at like, you know, they do like house parties or, you know, musical salons. Like, you know, they had like a little scene in that. And so she would go and perform at that. And she had like a lot of friends and a lot of people that tried to help her out. But as I said, I kind of feel like at the time, there just wasn't any market for what she was doing. I kind of feel like maybe they felt like it was too literary for folk, maybe too folky for pop music. And like I said, they didn't really have any anyone else that was doing anything this introspective, particularly from a woman's point of view. And so they just didn't really know how to sell her. And I think that was kind of one of the big issues. I'll also note too that the IPR where she had written she'd written essays and stuff on geopolitics and whatnot, fell under scrutiny from, you know, the whole Red Scare McCarthy era deal. And so that publication was targeted by the House Un-American Activities Committee, saying they were all commies or whatever. And so she couldn't really associate with them anymore. But she was not quiet about it. Like, she wrote a bunch of stuff decrying that and, like, you know, saying it's like you can't have any intellectual freedom with all these motherfuckers calling everybody commies and doing all that kind of crap. You know what I mean? She really hated that. So as I mentioned, the reason they don't really know much about her personal life is because she was super, super private about it. Her friend, Gene Deitch, he said, you know, if you asked her anything about her personal life, she would just give you yes or no answers and wouldn't elaborate. Gene thought that she might have been a lesbian, as did her brother Philip, as I mentioned. But She neither confirmed nor denied this. And no one in her family don't remember her being in a relationship with anyone, man, woman, otherwise. She just never talked about it. It just wasn't anything. So it's entirely possible, but nobody knows. Which, like I said, probably, if that was the case, that would have been a big thing as to why she didn't talk about it. You know? Because that was really, really not accepted back then. So by the time
I missed it, I was reading the comments. What was not accepted back then?
Being a lesbian.
Okay, yeah.
But like I said,
I was looking at her. She looks like I kind of my gaydar and shit. My gaydar is activated. I think she's bisexual.
Possibly.
That looks like a bisexual.
Because I will say that a lot of her songs are kind of. They sound like she's talking about a man, but it's like it could be.
It could be anything.
Anything, really. Like they're vague enough that you could kind of read into it.
Yeah, sometimes, just in my personal experience, a lot of women that are like very intelligent and fucking exploratory and open-minded, they just like who they like. They don't really define themselves too much. And she's in a situation and in a time when, maybe the average dude is not going to be receptive to a woman like her. She's not stunningly good looking. Okay, but she is evidently extremely beautiful. Extremely intelligent, which might put her in a position where she might be open to some other things. That's all I'm gonna say. So that's probably what's going on there.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, because I kind of feel like, like I said, particularly in this era, which was very conformity based.
Yeah.
People that are not across the board, but generally people that are as intelligent as she was. Tend to not have the same.
They don't worry about stigma.
Hang-ups or it's just kind of like they're a lot more. They tend to be a lot more open-minded about shit.
She probably. I'm looking at her. She's kind of chick that probably just be open to the best thing that came along. If he was a good-looking dude, she'd go for that. If it was a cool chick, she'd go for that.
That's I kind of feel like coming from. From my perspective, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I think so, yeah. Well, she's opening up her horizons. Her dating opportunities are more expanded.
Yeah.
Because if she's just keeping just to dudes, then she has to play by dudes' rules. And the dudes' rules of the 50s kind of
And who wants
sucked.
that? Holy crap.
Yeah, the dudes' rules of the 50s, there was...
Especially back then.
Back then, yeah. Yeah, those dudes were pretty conformist. And then the dudes that weren't conformists would have been assholes.
Yeah, I feel like you probably didn't really have much to pick from back then.
Yeah, and if a dude wasn't conformist and he was cool, he was taken.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing. Just because cool dudes... I'm not saying cool dudes didn't exist in the 50s. Of
course
they were. But they were taken.
Cool.
Look at this shit.
What happened? Oh.
Look at that shit change color. See, I'm talking a certain way. I'm making lights change.
You're making the lights change color.
Making the lights change. That shit happens.
Although I don't know if it's just you, because that changes color randomly, like all the time. It's not. We've had it a while, and it's kind of glitchy.
Yeah, glitchy shit.
Sometimes it just scrolls through all the different colors. Sometimes it randomly changes the color after 2 hours on one color. It's mystifying.
Yeah, I mean, in the 50s, a really cool dude would have been like fucking scares his hen teeth. He'd been taken.
Yeah, I think even nowadays, like, cool dudes get snapped up. Which, like I said, we've talked about this before. Even nowadays, and I've heard this from other dudes that I know that are my friends and stuff. That it's like they didn't get much traction with women until they got a girlfriend and they got married, and then all of a sudden all these women come out of the woodwork, like flirting with them and shit like that. I said I think part of it might be because you're in a relationship and so now you've been vetted by another woman, so it's like at least you're partially okay. Yeah. When you're single, it's like you're a wild card. Nobody knows why you're single. There might be a reason. But if a woman is putting up with you for a time period, then that tends to reflect well on you. Yep. With other women, because they're like, well, she's putting up with him, so we can't be that bad.
And the longer you're with that woman, the better of a catch you are.
Yeah.
Yep. That's my personal experience also.
Yeah, and like I said, from a female point of view, it makes sense, because it's like, oh, well, she's been with him all this time, so he can't be that terrible.
Yep, been married twice. You guys know me from the show. I've fucking shown pictures of my ex. Jen knows everything about me. We're very open. The best way to get a girlfriend is to already have a girlfriend.
It's kind of like having money. The best way to make money is to already have money.
Yeah. Success breeds success.
It does.
And
in a lot of ways.
And the longer you're with a woman, especially if she's a high quality woman, like other women like her and respect her, the longer you're with her, the more of a catch you are.
Yeah.
Because they're like, man, he's been with her for fucking 5 years. That's a good one. You know?
Yeah, because like I said, a woman who other people think is okay is putting up with his ass.
Yeah.
So he must be all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the shitty ones will start trying to poach him.
Yeah. And then the older you get, the older the women that are gunning for you get. So it means that they're a little more forgiving. They kind of know the deal more. They're not as choosy as some teenager or chick in her early 20s that doesn't have a realistic sense of fucking what men are and what she is. So a lot of times the quality of the ones after you or who like you increase. They're older, but they're actually better.
Yeah.
Now, I'm 57. Fucking a guy in his 20s is not fucking interested in women in their 40s.
Not generally, no.
Yeah.
Unless it's a fetish thing.
Right, unless it's a fetish thing. But if you're in your late 50s, attractive women in their 40s seem like kids to you.
Yeah.
So it's not you're not in the same situation, but they're kind of better because you look back at my age. You look back at women that were in their late teens, early 20s, even mid 20s. They did some stupid shit because they're kids.
Yeah, everybody does stupid shit.
Everybody is doing stupid shit. Yeah.
I did, you did, everybody.
Yeah, everybody's doing so.
Because you're just figuring shit out. You know what I mean?
Relationships are so much easier when you're older. And I'm saying this to the young Gen Z out there who's all fucked up. The older you get, the better it tends to get. Because the people you're dealing with are more reasonable.
Yeah,
more realistic.
I mean, like, once you're older, you kind of leave all that stupid shit
A woman's
behind.
not even in a game with me until 35.
Yeah,
30 is almost like too young.
Like I said, it's like,
dumb.
I feel like I didn't even really get my shit together until I was like in my late 30s.
Mid 30s is when most people kind of really start to realize, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my shit, like I had a job and a house and shit like that, but I didn't really feel like adulting until I was like 38.
Yeah, your view of what's real and what isn't real doesn't really start to form until like 35. Your priorities are kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. I was worried about bullshit back then. What I believed in wasn't real.
Everybody learns
this is real now. Yeah.
You try to tell younger people that.
They
it's
don't
like,
get
I know I sound like a grandma, but it's just like you do try to tell you. And like, I wouldn't have listened to me either.
Yeah.
You know? Although I didn't do as stupid shit when I was younger as some people did.
There was a girl from the club that was trying to work with us. Fucking me and Dimitri.
Yeah.
And she's really talented making videos. And I was just trying to vet her. She wanted to get in the club industry with us. We were kind of figuring out what we were going to do with her in terms of maybe...
Well, I put her on one of the flyers.
We put her on flyers before.
She's a model, kind of like, you know.
Yeah, she's a model and she does videos.
She does the cool-ass pictures and stuff.
Yeah. And she has a hard time dating.
She's very young, though.
Very young. And I tried to talk sense to her and she's like maybe 21.
You can't talk to people like they don't.
You can't talk sense to them.
No.
I was just like...
Well, like I said, I wouldn't have
crazy.
listened to a 50-year-old when I was 21.
Yeah, you're like, what are you talking about? You know, she's worried about things that aren't going to happen. Unrealistic fucking standards in terms of who she is and who these dudes are. Just crazy.
But I get it.
And I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the.
I was
shooting
like that
yourself
too.
in the foot with this mentality. You're not. That's not how people are. Just whatever. You can't help them. It's like dealing with a child.
I mean, you could try. But like I said, I wouldn't have listened to a 55, 56-year-old.
Yeah, they think you don't know what you're talking about.
When I was 21 either.
Yeah.
It's just, it's eternal. It's been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You know, writers 2,000 years ago were talking about the same fucking...
Yeah.
These damn kids today.
Yeah, these damn kids today.
Same exact thing. It never changes. It's just the eternal... So it's like, so that's why I don't take it too seriously because I was like, it's been going on forever. Everybody thinks the generation behind them is like the worst ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just how the way it goes. It's a human thing, I guess, because it's been happening forever. Yeah. I saw like a really great meme. Somebody had put together all of these writings from different, like from Aristotle and like all this, like from thousands of years ago, complaining about this generation. They're so lazy and they won't work and blah blah blah. It's like they're all saying the exact same thing, going back like thousands and thousands of years. It's pretty hilarious. But yeah, it's like nothing ever changes, does it?
Guy says it's easy to flirt with gals when you're an older man. You're just not as threatening as a 20-year-old frat boy. Well, no, it's not that you're not as threatening. It's just that you don't threaten as much catastrophe as a 21-year-old. A 21-year-old really has very little to offer a woman. No True. Security, no. He only has physicality and cuteness to offer.
Yeah, it's like, is this bitch gonna crash on my couch and steal all my money?
Yeah.
And go and use it all on drugs or
right, and so. But when you're older, they take you a little bit more seriously. But also, when you're older, the average dude doesn't look that good.
Yeah, okay. So you're not usually on younger women's radar.
Yeah, you're not even on the radar. Not unless you're top echelon. You got to be a bodybuilder. Or a fucking celebrity, a hot celebrity. Like, for instance, fucking David Bowie was on a 21-year-old's radar all the way up until he was in his 50s, 60s, probably. That motherfucker was cool as shit.
But he was hot and cool.
He knew how to cool, yeah.
So it didn't matter that he was an old man, because he wasn't like an old man.
He didn't have the old man vibe.
Right. Which that accounts for a lot, I feel.
Yeah, and part of it is his status and his money and his style. The way he... And the way other people treated him. And that motherfucker was a millionaire. People don't realize it, but David Bowie was the richest musician, I think in history. Even though he didn't make it in music, he made it in real estate.
I thought Paul McCartney had a similar thing going on.
Yeah. Bowie was not playing with music money. He didn't make any. His money was not coming from that. His money was coming from fucking real estate. Dude owned all kinds of shit. He's a real estate genius. True music gangster, and art, which is selling art is kind of like money laundering. He had a money laundering service. The motherfucker was a real gangster.
Well, and like I said. He just always seemed just like a really cool, genuinely cool dude. It wasn't like cool. It wasn't like fake cool or edgy cool, or he was just
extremely cool,
a cool person.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sexy dude, and he was an artificial homosexual. He was straight.
Well, like I said, they were just.
But that was his art.
They were just playing with gender norms at the time, which was controversial. It was very subversive back then.
Yeah. That's how he got a lot of his financial support.
Yeah,
was from his art. Gay dudes fucking loved it, and they supported a lot of his artistic endeavors. That's kind of where his career was, is the breaking norms. It was kind of like, in a way, advertisement. And, and changing society that way. Special operations, basically. Yeah. Information warfare. Yeah, he did a great job.
Nothing wrong
Huge
with
fan of fucking Bowie. He was a master.
Man, we all love him.
He's a master, yeah.
Everybody loves Bowie.
One of the coolest dudes of all time.
Camp Guy said, I used to like that show, The Pickup Artist. They took a bunch of loser guys and tried to coach them into how to approach girls in a nightclub setting.
Yeah.
It was really done in a tasteful manner. Yeah, I was going to say, because when you say pickup artist, I was thinking they were going to do all that negging shit like that. Who's that douche that used to wear that furry hat?
I don't know. Mainstream
he had a
pickup
stupid ass
name,
Mystic
suck.
or what the fuck was his name? I don't remember.
Mainstream pickup artists are fucking, they suck.
Magic? Right. What the fuck was his name?
I'd like to see him try to do that shit in a golf club when the shit's all set on expert.
You can get your teeth punched out.
You're gonna get fucked up. Yeah,
that's what's probably gonna happen.
I gravitated to the golf scene. I liked the music and I liked the culture.
Mystery, thank you. That was.
I very much vibed with the women there and fucking had good success. Had married 2 goth wives. Yeah, and they were all fucking top
not at the same time, obviously.
Not at the same time, but, and they were all top notch goth girls. They're set on expert difficulty because they see through bullshit.
Oh, big time!
You can't lie. It's got to be true. They know it.
And we are very, very wary
Yeah.
Maybe more than, I mean, normal chicks are wary too, but it's like, I think goth chicks are way more wary than normal.
If you go in there fetishizing goth girls, you're going to strike out immediately.
Because our guard is like,
you must be
we just put all the walls up.
Yeah. And you have to be scene-centered and fucking be cool. You got to be cool.
Yeah, if you're not cool,
if you're not cool, it's not going to work.
And if you're trying to be cool, that's even worse.
They'll see that. Yeah, they'll see that. Yeah.
Nobody likes to try hard.
No, you better learn how to dress and dance. Shit.
And like I said, we have friends at the club that just look normal, but they've been going there forever.
They can do it.
They know all the music. They're really cool. They're really nice. They don't have agendas. They're just hanging out. Yeah. They're just like hanging out like everybody else. So they don't have to dress like that.
No, yeah.
They're just cool people.
It helps.
It helps.
Yeah.
It does look better, in my opinion. But we know some dudes and stuff that don't dress like that are, and we hang out with them.
They're accepted in the scene. Just
and everybody likes them.
Yeah.
So it's like, but because they're not jerks.
Yeah.
That
takes a long time.
But but they've been going there for years and years. It's just like a whole thing. So you can't just waltz in and like think that shit's gonna happen, because it ain't. Like I said, you have to have a long history. Everybody has to know who you are, or somebody has to know who you are. Because like I said, we're real, understandably so, we're real distrustful of strangers. Especially somebody even strangers that look all gothed out. Because we had a situation it's been a while back now, a few months ago, where we had a couple turn up that were, super gothed out. They knew some of the music and stuff like that, but they were like, yeah, well, we used to go out all the time, but it's like, we were raising kids and we didn't really have time, and we're just coming back out. And I was like, okay, cool, fair enough. They were like our age. But as time went on, we realized that I don't know, he was all right, but she was weird. Like there was just kind of like this very, like I said, very try hard energy. She was very passive aggressive, kind of mean, but like not. And they were always like trying to get one over on people. Like they wanted to sneak in the club without paying the cover, like shit like that. And they kind of came in, or at least she did. I was like, I got okay vibes from him. He seemed all right, but she was just very over the top, very attention seeking, and she seemed like she thought she was just gonna waltz in because she was hot, which she is, and she would always wear like, kind of hot like fetish outfits and stuff, and that she thought she was gonna waltz in and like take over the shit, without realizing that all of us had been there for like years and years, and we all knew everybody, and these are just coming in and then waltzing in like they own the place, and people are like, well, wait a minute, who are you? You know what I mean? So it was like that kind of situation. And eventually they got kicked out of one of the places. As far as I know, they didn't get kicked out of Abyss, but I haven't seen them there in a long time, because I don't think anybody really ended up liking them once they talked to him. Like I said, he was all right, but she was...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what their names are.
The scene understands quality control.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long for them to fucking figure out who you are.
Well, give people a chance if they seem to know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, they did seem to have been... They had went to clubs back in the day. They'd been raising kids for 16 years or whatever and hadn't come out. And they were going to try and come... Fair enough.
They were goth. They were just...
Yeah,
but... It's just that there was a problem with that chick.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It was hard to explain.
And she was a good-looking chick. She was actually a high-end pro stripper.
Yeah, like I said, she was super hot, but it's like...
Super hot, fucking, and fucking danced and everything. It's just that she had personality issues. She just was confrontational.
And she just grated on everyone's nerves.
And fucking constantly putting herself above other people, and that she didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, wait, hold on, you don't know.
Like, she didn't know who people were.
She knew who was who, and
it's like she kept trying to like pull rank on people.
Yeah, or like, bitch, don't you realize that bitch there fucking owns this club? Don't you know that that's the wife of the DJ? Don't you know that this is the promoter? Don't you know they didn't know anybody?
Yeah, but they acted like
they did.
Yeah, like I said, her more than him.
Yeah,
he seemed all right,
yeah.
But you know what I mean. I gotta pee, so
go ahead.
And then we'll finish up what we were talking about.
All right. So, okay, there's another show. Another show here on YouTube. What the fuck, man? Another show here called Sumerian Scholar. That's the name of the channel. And the guy who runs his name is Austin. And his whole show is centered around Robert E. Howard and Conan video games and Conan books and the actual Robert E. Howard stories. The other day he had he's in the university right now. He's ex-military. He was in a mechanized infantry unit. And me and him have been talking. But the other day he had one of his professors on who's a big Robert E. Howard fan and also Lovecraft. And they had a good conversation. I fucking really recommend another channel called Sumerian Scholar here on YouTube. And we're in talks right now. He wants to have me on as a guest. Maybe a regular guest, kind of like doing what we do with Sidetracks. We'll get on there and we're going to maybe once a week, maybe every other week, do a live stream show there where we talk about Conan, warrior culture, because he's ex-infantry too. And we're going to be talking to the other guys who are big into this kind of stuff in the chats. And probably things like dating and manosphere, whatever. And, you know, it's also going to be about Howard and Lovecraft. It'll just be an open lines discussion. And he's going to have, you know, a list of topics he's going to talk about. But we're in talks for that right now. He wants to do it. I want to do it too. Because we've been messaging and fucking talking to each other.
Yeah, that would be cool, I think.
And he's like, fucking, man, I gotta have you on. It's a new channel and it's growing fast. I like his channel. Sumerian Scholar. And if you guys want to have me on there, just follow that channel and fucking drop him a line. Say, hey, I have Tom from 13 O'Clock on there. He knows exactly who it is. And I'll be on there. But I may be on there in a couple weeks. And Jen will probably be on there too.
We'll see.
I
don't think I probably won't get a word in edgewise.
I'll probably have you here to back me up sometimes, depending on what the comments are. You know, depending on what it is we're talking about. See, he's the author also.
Yeah.
So you guys have a lot in common.
Okay.
Because were you self-publishing and shit?
Yeah.
And he was very interested in the fact you were doing true crime and witch stories and all that stuff in horror. He was into that. So you guys will probably have a lot to talk about.
That's true.
And he's married. He's married too. He's in his late 20s.
Okay.
He's Gen Z.
Yeah. Okay. So he's a lot younger than me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that might be interesting to get like a cross generational.
Yeah, he was like, man, I want to have you on the show because these young guys need to hear this shit, man. Fucking, they're cut out.
They won't listen.
Cut off. They don't. Yeah.
Like I said, they won't listen. Young people don't listen to older people.
But these are Conan fans.
That's true.
And some of them are misinterpreting what Howard's talking about. He's way back in the 20s and the 30s, and it's Southern culture. You know, he's basically talking about the Wild West. You know, Hyboria is just an allegory for the West, for the Old West and the Old South. You know, but anyway, they're reading into it with modern eyes sometimes. That's what he had his professor on there talking about that. Because his professor knew a lot about it. He said his professor thought that Howard, Lovecraft, and who was the other guy? Smith? No. What's the other
Clark
guy?
Ashton Smith.
Smith, yeah, Smith. I was gonna read some of. I listened to some of Smith too. Said that those are three of the best American authors of all times, and the fucking industry was just fucking them up because they were just slave driving them and making them change shit. They treated writers in those days like really poorly. Because they were like, oh, I like that story, but we can't have that. Change it to this, and change that. Ain't that something?
Well,
they wouldn't let them write what
anytime
they
you do creative shit, and I should know, people that are the money people think they know better.
Yeah.
Like, they want you to do it, but then you do it, and they're like, no, not like that.
Yeah, because he said...
And then they want to change it because they think they know better. I'm like, what the fuck do you need me for then?
Because Ashton Smith actually...
Do it yourself.
Ashton Smith lived longer than those other two authors, and he released his unedited works. And that guy said that professor said they're much better than the edited shit they put in there. and it's because they kept saying, well, no, we need more half naked ladies in this. We need more of this. We need more of that.
I'm telling you, man, tale as old as time. Yeah. Creativity versus commercial viability.
Yeah, it was all commercial shit.
It's a whole argument. Like I said, I'm a writer. I'm a graphic designer. I've got into that my whole career, where I don't know, it's like ridiculous to me. It's very frustrating because, as a graphic designer, particularly because you're doing something for a company that wants, to sell something for them, and they hire you to find the best way to do that, and then you do it as like, I think this would look really good, or this would be really eye-catching or something. No, not like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, if you don't want my input, just do it your damn self.
Yeah.
Is what I have to say. Just do it your damn self.
Evidently,
because you obviously know better.
Evidently,
Good luck with that.
They censored Lovecraft quite a bit. They wanted him to change a bunch of shit because they thought he was too airy-fairy and not enough type of deal. But they didn't do it so much with Howard, because evidently Howard knew what they wanted.
Yeah.
Howard was
spicy.
Well,
I would argue that his
Howard
stuff was a lot more commercially viable than
Howard
Lovecraft's
was. Yeah.
Because he had a lot more smut and a lot more action, whereas Lovecraft's were kind of cerebral.
Yeah.
And abstract a bit.
He was an auteur.
Yeah, so I could see. Zach says, which ironically kind of comes back to the convo about old Connie. It does, because I kind of feel like that's the thing. I kind of feel like, and it's a sad truth of the world, but talent doesn't guarantee anything. There's a lot of talented people, but if you can't make people want your shit, so if you can't sell your own shit, or you can't afford to hire somebody to sell your shit, or if you're not gonna make it, it's just like, and that's kind of a shitty thing for creative people to realize, is that you need somebody that will do that for you if you can't do it yourself, because you could be the most talented person in the world, but if nobody knows it, then you're not going to get anywhere with it. But, I've run into it myself. I don't really that's technically why I've had stuff published by smaller publishing houses, but I tend to like to do my own shit just because I'm kind of, I wouldn't call myself a control freak, but I like to have control over what the final product looks like. So if it's a book, I want to control the layout. I want to design the cover. I want it to look exactly the way I want it to look. And if you go through a publisher, which I have done before, you don't get that. Someone else is going to design the cover, might not be what you want. Someone else is going to do the interior layout, might not be what you want. Editors are going to change stuff, might not be what you want. So, you know what I mean? But it's all kind of a push and pull. And I think, like I said, I feel like Connie ran into the probably same problem that a lot of introverted creative people probably run into, is that she just wanted to do her songs and have people enjoy them. But because she wasn't a go-getter, she wasn't like a big she wasn't, I wouldn't say she was antisocial, because she would go to like house parties and play and stuff like that, so people heard her music. She wasn't like a recluse, but it just seemed like no one would really sell her. No one was interested in championing her, or nobody that was interested in championing her had like the power to do anything about it.
Another super chat.
Thank you very much, Zach. Send a super chat. Connie and her story reminds me of Nick Drake a lot too. Yeah, I could kind of see that. I don't know as much about Nick Drake, but I kind of see what you're getting at. So, let's see, where was I? So at this stage, it's early 1961. And Connie is she's in her late 30s at this stage. And she's kind of still living alone, obviously, not having any luck with her music career. Money's kind of hit or miss. And so she decided that she was going to essentially pack it up. Like, I guess she was just kind of like, this music thing isn't going anywhere. And so she decided she was just going to move away from New York City and just kind of give up on it. So she ended up moving to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is where her brother lived. Like I said, he was a professor at the University of Michigan. And she wanted to be closer to him because, like I said, they were very close growing up. And he had been very supportive of her music career. So she decided to just move to Ann Arbor. Now, according... Sorry, you guys. According to some accounts, she actually left some of her musical instruments behind, like in New York. I don't know if that's true or not, but I have heard that in a couple of sources. But she'd like bring her all the tapes with her and stuff like that. So she moves to Michigan, and she gets a job as a secretary for a brief time. And then in 1963, she became the managing editor of a scholarly publication called the Journal of Conflict Resolution, which was kind of just focused on some like peace studies, international relations, that kind of stuff. So she did a lot of editing. She would correspond with other academics along, like in geopolitics and stuff, and got real into work about, war, racism, like social justice kind of issues. She got like way into that. And she started volunteering with some other kind of political activist groups, like People Against Racism, stuff like that. I wrote a lot of essays about that kind of thing. And as I mentioned before, because of what had happened with the previous publication that she worked at, getting kind of investigated by the House Un-American Activities Committee, so she wrote a lot of stuff like denouncing them and whatnot. She did still play music while she was in Michigan. She would friends would be over and she would play like the piano or the guitar for them. But she didn't do any public performances anymore. As far as I know, she didn't record anymore after she moved away from New York City. And she started focusing more on writing. Like she started doing academic writing, essays, and then she also started working on a novel, which as far as I know was never finished. Now, by the time the early 1970s came around, as I mentioned, when she'd moved to New York, because she'd gotten into, I guess, what her parents would have kind of seen as like a bohemian type lifestyle, and she started drinking and smoking and stuff like that, which a lot of people did back then. But I kind of feel like by the time the early 70s had come around, like the drinking had gotten a lot worse because she was like dealing with some shit. And in about 1973, it seems, she had a nervous breakdown. Now, interestingly, colleagues at her work and friends of hers pulled a bunch of money together and sent her. I was like, man, these are like some friends I need. You know what I mean? They pulled a bunch of money together, enough to send her on a 6-month sabbatical, like to London, because they thought like a change of scenery would do it. They were worried about her. You know what I mean? Like worried about her mental health. So they all kind of pooled their money and sent her on a trip, like thinking it would help her. You know what I mean? Which I was like, wow, that's really nice. So yeah, I don't know if it was just London, but they sent her to England for 6 months. Now, because I imagine she was probably suffering from like undiagnosed depression. That's what it sounds like to me. She did enjoy her time there. She did go. But it didn't really help anything. I mean, she was still the same person she was when she came back. It's like, you know what I mean? It didn't seem to help all that much. And then her mom, also trying to help, took her on a trip to Alaska, which Connie really did not want to go. But
I think Alaska would be kind of boring unless they're going to go camping.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they were going to do in Alaska. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful
just
there.
Pretty. That's where you go to nature,
But yeah, like you can go out and like look at whales and shit. But like or like camp, I think it'd be kind of fun, but not for a long time.
Yeah, you're going to go camping and hiking.
Yeah, like I would like that, like and maybe like doing some of like, because I want to go like see some whales and some fucking ice floes and shit like that. That'd be really cool because I haven't seen anything like that. So that would be awesome. But yeah, you don't want to spend like 6 months there because holy crap, what the fuck would you do?
Especially in the 50s.
Yeah, especially
There's
back then.
there.
Like now, it's probably like a little bit better.
Yeah.
At least they probably have Wi-Fi for Christ's sake. It's like so even if you get bored, you can watch Netflix or whatever. But yeah. So she didn't really want to go. But a lot of her friends and family said she was one of those people that she had a hard time saying no. Like, so if your mom was like, we got to go to Alaska. Are you going to go on this trip with me? And she was just kind of like, man, I don't really want to. But she felt like an asshole, like saying she didn't want to go. So she went. You know what I mean? D.V.D. Dragon saying, guys in their 20s can go for chicks in their 40s. Shit, hag maxing, yeah.
Hag maxing.
We were talking about, didn't somebody mention that on the Hagsploitation show?
We know women in their 40s, man. They're indistinguishable from women in their late 20s.
Yeah, like I said,
indistinguishable.
We know several women in their 40s that you would never know.
You would never know, yeah. Yeah, we were talking to Susan.
Yeah.
I met Susan when Susan was a kid. She was like 19. Probably around that age, maybe a little bit older. I said, Susan, how old are you? She goes, I'm 40. And I was like, what? No! Like,
she looks exactly the same.
They look exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Little bitty cute little guy. I said, no, you're 40.
You've known her a bit longer than me, but not that much longer.
Yeah. It's like, you're 40?
She looks exactly the same. She doesn't age today.
That's obscene.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Goths, man, they don't age. We don't go out in the sun, that's why. I think that might be why.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she goes on this trip. She wasn't happy about it. And many people have speculated that it was maybe this trip and the bummer time she had there that kind of contributed to her decision to disappear or do whatever it is she did. Because as soon as they got back, her mom was like, hey, we should do this again. We're going to do this other trip. And she's like, yay. You know what I mean? It was like that kind of thing. So because of the timing of it, like a lot of people thought, she just really didn't want to, maybe she just didn't want to disappoint anybody or she just didn't want to do this shit anymore. And so she thought it would just be easier to like take off or whatever it is she did. Also around this time period, she was diagnosed with a fibroid tumor in her uterus, and she had to get a hysterectomy. Now, even though she had never really expressed any interest in having children or a family or anything like that, but having that, I guess like having that decision taken away from you, like against your will, is kind of going to fuck with you a little bit. Even if because you're like, well, I didn't really want kids, but it's just now that I can't have them. Like it might have been, you know what I mean? It might have been kind of a thing. And I kind of feel like at this stage, she's older and, she had never married. She never had she had a career, like she had jobs and stuff. But it's like she didn't make it like in the musical career like she'd wanted to. And maybe she was feeling like a failure. And then this like didn't help. You know what I mean? Because now it's just kind of like, now you've had this other decision taken away from you. So now even if you wanted kids, you couldn't have them. You know what I mean? Because she had to have her uterus removed. So I kind of feel like it was that. Then the Journal of Conflict Resolution, the publication she was working for, they relocated to Yale without like telling her. They're like, oh yeah, we're moving by. You know what I mean? And like didn't really, and she was pretty pissed about that. Because she had really liked that job. She had got a lot of professional fulfillment out of it. And the fact that they kind of fucked her over like that, she was pretty upset about it.
They didn't see her as valuable, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if they didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Or if it was just her specifically.
Just her, right.
I think it was just kind of a thing where it's like, well, we're just moving. Fuck all y'all. We'll just get new writers when we get over there. Like, maybe it was that.
Writers a dime a dozen.
Maybe, yeah. I maybe that's what it was. So I don't think it was they were picking on her specifically.
Yeah.
I just think they thought, oh, we're going to Yale. They got writers there. It's like, so we're not worried about it. But she kind of saw that as a betrayal, I think. As you would. She had worked there for a while. And like I said, it was very important to her. So it was that kind of thing. So by this stage, she's 49 years old. She's feeling kind of burned out, depressed.
Oh yeah, 49. That's an old lady
in the 50s. Yeah, and like I said, all of this stuff kind of compounding at the same time, probably did not help her mental state.
Yeah.
Any. She was still writing to her friends and family. She wrote a lot of letters and stuff like that. But later on, like, her friends and family said, well, she still seemed... She's like, the letters seemed like kind of cheerful, but also kind of like with some, I don't know, like underlying despair, kind of. She was still reading a lot. She was still like, you know, active. She was like still debating politics. She was still doing all this kind of stuff. There was just this undertone of detachment, kind of. Some of her friends said that she sounded like she was talking about her life from a distance.
Like it happened a long time ago.
Yeah, or like it was someone else's life, kind of. Like she was detached.
Talking about it from like it was in the past.
Yeah. Which they were a little disturbed by.
She's still a young woman.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
52.
nowadays, yeah. 53.
53.
Actually, I'll be 54 in September.
Ridiculous.
I'll be 54 in September.
Jen still lives as a young woman.
Yeah, it never occurred to me to be an old person.
Yeah.
It just never occurred to me. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
We both live as young people, though. we still do the same shit that young people do.
Like I said, this fucking past weekend, we were both slightly sick, but we went out Friday night and Saturday night.
Partying and dancing.
Danced our asses off.
Yeah. Work out, take fucking high-performance fucking drugs and shit. Fucking hormones.
I wouldn't trade it. I don't want to sit at home.
Fuck no. We're going to run this shit until we just fucking struck down by death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, like I said, I had a blast. Especially Saturday night. I fucking danced my ass off. All night long.
I dread the day that one of us dies, though, man.
Oh man, don't say that. I know it's gonna happen. It's just
fucking damn.
Tom wants us both to die at the same time.
I want us both to die at the same time. She dies, I'm going right behind her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I'd be like, fuck it, I'm out of here.
Oh.
But that's the way that our neighbors did.
Yeah, I'm going to say the neighbors whose cats we were taking care of. The cats are fine, by the way, in case you guys...
She was dying. The dude said, fuck it, I'm going to die. I'm die too.
Yeah, she died, and then like a couple years later, he was like... Or a couple days later.
He lived another 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and he was just like, man, I'm out of here too.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, if you've been together that long, it's just kind of like, you don't really see much point. You know?
He could have lived another couple years, but he started refusing his fucking dialysis.
Yeah.
He said, fuck it, I want to die. He died.
Yeah, it's that kind
I told him, I said, I respect your decision. I understand it. I said, I'd be the same way. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah.
And they were both real sick.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like, it wasn't fun. It's not like, you know, like I said, my stepdad died a little while back. And my mom, who is still fairly young, I think, she's in her early 70s, but she's still, like, you know, she's in fairly good shape. And she had been taking care of him for so long that, like, now that he died, she was just kind of like, woo. Like, she got a second wind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's kind of a different situation.
Yeah, she did her duty, and that shit's...
She was a caretaker for many years, and it's just like he was losing his mind at the end. And he was older than her.
Yeah, her mom is dating dudes my age. It's ridiculous.
Well, like, we all went to Disney, me and him and her and my siblings.
She was gonna break the news too.
And she broke the news. We're at that what's that restaurant like that's in Liberty Square or whatever, like that does the Thanksgiving buffet. Yeah. And we were in there, and she's like, I don't want to tell you guys, but it's so good. She was dating a guy. Yeah. And she's like, and he's like 50. He's our age.
Yeah, he's 56, and I was like, yeah.
And we were like, go, yeah. She thought we were gonna be mad.
I was like, yeah. I said, you did a good job.
She thought we were gonna be mad. I was like, at that age, it really doesn't matter to me.
Good job.
I'd be weirded out if she was dating like an 18-year-old or something like that. But I was just kind of like, it's fine.
It was funny. Fucking her mom was fucking kind of wrapped up tight and shit. There's just something about, I guess because I'm older than her sons and I'm not her son.
Yeah.
I said, look, you did your duty to that.
Yeah, because my brothers are younger than him.
Yeah, and I said, you did your duty to that dude. Fucking, you've been released.
Yeah. I think she felt like that too. But I think she felt bad about feeling that. But I'm like, no, that's okay. That's how you should feel.
And I saw her just like I had removed like 50 pounds off of her fucking bunch of pressure came out. And I said, "You're a woman. You do what you need to do.
Get out there.
Have fun."
I was so fucking happy. Yeah, and I thought she was just gonna like.
I said, "You're dating a guy my age," and I said, "You bad girl, I love you." I said, "You bad girl, I love you." She's like, "Oh, thank you. I thought you'd think bad." I said, "No.
Nah.
You said you're a woman."
I was so relieved.
Yeah.
I was so relieved. Literally, when me and my brother were driving back from my stepdad's funeral.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm so worried about her living out in that house in Ocala in the middle of nowhere. It's like, how is she just gonna like stagnate in there? Like, what's gonna? But she didn't. No, she just like blossomed.
Yeah.
She got boyfriends. She's on her second one now.
Yeah.
And I was like, hot damn, all right.
Yeah, she's getting.
I was so relieved.
Her mom looks a lot younger than she is.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes her seem a little bit older is that she can't walk for long distance.
She was in a bad car wreck many years ago. And she has her leg and arm were crushed, and so she has like metal. So they're metal.
She's got
her
metal
arm and her leg.
And shit. So it's not her age that's making her so she can't walk. It's just these injuries.
Yeah.
And that gives her the appearance of an older woman.
Yeah.
Because
she can walk, just not like real long distances.
Yeah, not real long distance, right? She wears out quickly.
But yeah, so I was
get her on some semaglutide.
I was just so happy when I heard about it.
Getting that weight off.
I just thought it was so. I was like, man, you must not know me that well at all. Like, if you thought I'd be upset about it.
No, she did. She did her duty. She's been retired. She can do what she wants now.
She took care of that dude. Like I said, and I wasn't a fan of my stepdad.
He was out of his mind, and we didn't know he was out of his mind.
She didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, and I was like, man, you went through all that because he was falling apart mentally.
I know how, because I'm the same way.
Yeah. She didn't want anybody to know.
She didn't want anybody to know.
To know that he was losing his mind, so he could keep.
She kept it to herself, so she just took care of him out there in the middle of the fucking woods.
Yeah.
By herself.
In that little redneck mansion, with the swimming pool and everything.
I was like, Mom, why didn't you fucking tell me any of this? I didn't know any of this. That he was like fucking.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, but anyway.
Crazy.
Oh well.
But like I said, I'm kind of like that too. Like, you have problems, you don't want to burden other people with them. Like, I think that's where I got it from.
This chick here, though, thinking very negative of herself. She was just born in the wrong place, wrong time.
I think that kind of shit makes me really sad because I kind of feel like if she sounded like really fucking cool, and had she been born in a different time, man, shit would have worked out so different. And it's just such a bummer because I'm sure that happened a lot, you know?
Had she only been born maybe 10 or 15 years later, it would have been a lot different story, I think.
So all this shit had been going on. And like I said, I don't think anybody really suspected anything, even though some of her friends did note, like, some of the weird shit she's in her letters and stuff. But, so her 50th birthday was August 3rd, 1974. A week later, on August 10th, she had like a green Volkswagen Beetle. She packed all her shit in it. And she wrote letters to all her friends and family. And drove away from Ann Arbor, Michigan. The letters, I think she wrote pretty much the same one to everybody except Philip. I think her brother, I think the one she sent him was slightly different. But she basically said, and this is part of what the letter said. It was addressed to anyone who ever asks if I'm long unheard from. And incidentally, that was the guy that wrote her biography, Howard Fishman, called it to anyone who ever asks. This is the thin, hard sublayer under all the parting messages I'm likely to have sent. Let me go. Let me be if I can. Let me not be if I can't. For a number of years now, I've been the object of affectionate concern to my relatives, and many friends in Ann Arbor have received not just financial but spiritual support from them, have made a number of efforts in this benign situation to get a new toehold on the lively world, have failed. In the months after I got back from my desperate flight to England, I began to realize that my new personal incapabilities were still stubbornly handing in. I did fight, but they hung in. To survive it all, I expect I must drift back down through the other half of the 20th, which I already know pretty well, to the 120th, which I have only heard about. I might survive there quite a few years, who knows? But you understand, I have to do it with no benign umbrella. Human society fascinates me and awes me and fills me with grief and joy. I just can't find my place to plug into it. So let me go, please, and please accept my thanks for those happy times I am in everyone's debt.
That sounds like a suicide letter to me.
Yeah, to me as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a little choked up. But that's what she wrote to everybody. Those are the letters that she sent. She put all her shit in her car and drove off. And no one has ever seen hide nor hair of her ever again.
Or the car?
No, they never found the car.
What kind of car was it again?
A green VW Bug. Interestingly, and people might, I don't know, people might think this is weird nowadays. I mean, she was 50 years old. But her family honored her request. She basically said, don't look for me. And they didn't. Not for a while. Anyway, like, they didn't file a missing persons report. They figured, well, she's a grown-ass adult. She said she's going to go find her own way.
They figured she'd come back.
And not bother her. Yeah. And so that's what they did. Now, I will say about a decade after she vanished, the family did hire a private detective to see if he could find her. But the private detective, I don't think he really found any evidence of her either, but he basically told them the same thing. It's like, look, she's a grown-ass woman. She told you not to look for her, and if she wanted to disappear, then that is her right to do so. So he wasn't real jazzed about looking for her.
They just wanted to know if she was alive or dead, though.
Well, yeah. as you would, you know what I mean? Now, like I said, they never found the car. They never found a body or anything like that. Now, her brother said a few years after she disappeared that a friend of his had called and said, hey, you know, I think I found an Elizabeth Converse, because Elizabeth was her real name. I saw her name in a phone book but he couldn't remember if it was Kansas or Oklahoma.
That's not saying anything.
But yeah, so
name in a phone book.
But he said something about it, and the brother was like, well, I probably could have pursued that, but it's like he's like, I know this sounds terrible, but it's like I didn't really want to like just show up on her doorstep if I could find her, be like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? It's like, because she wanted to disappear and they wanted her to do that.
Have they tried to track the car?
Not that I know of, but like I said,
as long as a car was not found, you could easily sell a green VW Bug.
Yeah.
And it would never be noticed.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of green VW Bugs.
Yeah, especially in 1974.
So she could just get where she was going and just sell it. So it would never come to
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible. Now, I will note...
If you were to find a twisted VW Bug or an abandoned VW Bug somewhere...
Then that would obviously point to something else.
Right, yeah.
But the fact that they never found any hint of the car...
No hint, no abandoned green VW Bug.
I mean,
not one in the bottom of a fucking ravine.
No. Nothing. Interestingly, Philip also said he had gotten a check from Connie in the mail. She basically gave all the rights to her music to him. Like, he had all the recordings and stuff.
After she left?
But she also, so like, in the notes, in the letter she sent, she also sent him a check and said, hey, can you make sure my health insurance is paid up until, like, a certain date? I don't know how far the date was in the future. But she wanted him to keep paying for her health insurance.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Weird. Why
so had she been planning to just drive off and do away with herself, I feel like she might not have done that.
Well, that may have been a way of throwing them off the set.
Yeah, it could be that too. But yeah, that was the only thing that made me think it's like, well, that's a little weird. Like, why would she have gone to the trouble of saying, hey, can you pay my health insurance premiums?
Right.
Like, for X, I don't know how much time it was. It was like X amount of time, but maybe. But he did keep paying it until the date when she told him not to. Like from the check. I don't know how much the check was. So because she was never seen or heard from again, obviously there have been a lot of theories around her disappearance. The most common one being, and this is the one that her family was most believed, was that she probably just drove off a bridge, like into a body of water somewhere. Hence why they never found the car or a body or anything like that. It's entirely possible, though, that, like you said, she might have gotten somewhere, sold the car, assumed a new identity. Much easier to do back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Especially if no one was really looking for you.
Yeah.
So it's possible she might have done that. I like to think that she did that, but I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But I don't know. I mean, that letter to me, like you said, it sounds like a suicide note. To me, anyway. And she seemed to have been struggling with some mental health issues. But who knows? I mean, it's entirely possible she could have just driven off and started over someplace.
She may have just abandoned all her shit and become a bum.
Like I said, possible.
Just went from one fucking homeless shelter to the next in prisons and shit. You never know.
It's intriguing because probably at this stage there's probably no way of knowing. I mean, unless they find the car
too long ago
and a body somewhere.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, it was 1974, so it wasn't like ancient times.
Yeah, but nowadays I think if you were to find, let's say if you were to find a VW bug, and it wouldn't be the whole bug by this period of time underneath if it went into the water, especially salt water, it would just be a belly pan.
Yeah.
Because the way VW bugs are built to be a belly pan with a motor tied to it and a really cheap fucking fiberglass type fucking or sheet metal type fucking top on it would have rotted away. And if the body wasn't in there, if they just found a fucking belly pan of a VW bug with an engine on it, I don't think anybody would say anything. They wouldn't even. I don't even think it would come to anybody's attention.
Well, like I said, I mean, they would have to have found.
They didn't find the body.
They would have to find a body.
Yeah.
And be able to like establish.
Right.
The time of death, like roughly, to know if
there were a lot of VW bugs. That was a cheap disposable economy car back in those days.
I mean,
they weren't even considered to be real cars in the United States. That was like a toy compared to the other cars of the time.
Yeah.
And they were slow, and you could get them for nothing. So you could find something like that in a ravine or underneath a bridge. And as long as a body wasn't associated with it, and there wasn't a case where they were looking for a VW bug, that'd have been blown off.
And the fact, too, is that she left from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Yeah.
And no one knew where she was going. She could be
in Canada.
Anywhere.
She could be in Canada.
She could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody had any idea where she was going. So she could be literally, she could be anywhere in the United States.
Michigan, fucking.
She could be in Canada. She could be anywhere.
You could just go north and go to Canada.
Yeah.
You'd never find her.
And like I said, especially in the 1970s, much, much easier to like disappear. Harder nowadays because you would still leave like a footprint, like digital footprint. But back then, no. So, I
think she killed herself, though.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's nice to think that she just went off and started over somewhere.
There was nowhere for a girl like that to start over.
I just feel like probably not. Like,
what's she going to start over as?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like at this point, she seemed like... And her biographer, Harold Fishman, I think his name is, that wrote that book. He said she seemed kind of just exhausted. Like, she was 50 years old. She hadn't achieved anything she wanted to achieve. Maybe she felt like, her time was over. Like, she wasn't gonna...
She took that car and drove it to a remote location where it couldn't be found. off the road and killed herself.
And probably, if she did do that, I think she probably did that because she didn't want her family knowing.
Yeah.
Like, she just didn't want them knowing what happened to her.
And she really could have literally taken that car and taken it somewhere and sold it and thrown all her possessions away, walked off and killed herself. Something like that, because she was intelligent.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't, I don't think she would say, well, I'm going to drive it. I don't think she'd leave the car behind as a mess.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That's like a crime scene. She probably would have sold it, taken the money, partied on it for a little bit, and then when it ran out, killed herself.
Yeah, it's entirely possible she did that too. Like, that it wasn't immediate.
Yeah, sold the car and then stayed in a hotel for a while, fucking had fun, and when the money started running low, walked off somewhere in a remote area and plugged herself.
Somewhere where she thought she wouldn't be found.
Somewhere where they would never find the body.
Like I said, she seems very much like, I mean, you know, the limited information out there about her, she seems very much like someone that wouldn't have wanted to trouble anyone else with her problems.
She would have known how to cover up the evidence.
And she wouldn't have wanted to upset anybody by knowing that she did that.
She was intelligent enough to know how to make it vanish.
Yeah.
To make the suicide scene vanish.
It's just fucking sad, man. Yeah. It's a really sad story. And the thing about it is that, see, this is the kind of, I always kind of wish that, especially people that didn't become famous until after they were dead, like, you know, H.P. Lovecraft or anybody like that. I always kind of wish that you could kind of go back in time and, like, just bring them into the present for, like, a week or something, so they could see that their life had an impact.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, like, thinking at the time, it's like, man, I'm doing all this shit, and it's like, I'm not getting anywhere, and it's really frustrating. Like, I get that. But it's like, somebody like Lovecraft, or somebody like, you know, Connie Converse, who became so much more famous, like, many years after she disappeared, I think it would be edifying for her to know that people, like, at least know who she is nowadays, because I feel like she struggled so much. And that she was, like, really ahead of her time, that people are actually, like, recognizing her. But it's just a shame that that doesn't happen for a lot of, especially people that are, like, pioneers in a certain area, or are doing things, like, that are way ahead of their time that people didn't get.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it's just kind of like...
Well, she didn't know. She thought she was a loser.
I know. And
that's the same
that's what's sad is, like, she probably died thinking she was a loser.
That was the same with Robert E. Howard and fucking Lovecraft.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
They died young, thinking that they were losers. Lovecraft was broke. Fucking Howard was not broke, but they owed him a lot of money. They were fucking slave driving his ass. And they thought they would be forgotten, those two guys. And those two guys and Ashton Smith, some of the best fucking American fucking writers of all times. They fucking inspired all the fucking love. They inspired Lovecraft. Well, shit, Lovecraft inspired a lot of fucking horror. And Howard inspired
There's a whole horror
Tolkien.
subgenre.
Yeah, fucking Howard inspired Tolkien and all this sword and sorcery, Dungeons and Dragons, all these fantasy games. That's all fucking Robert E. Howard. Conan. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, it's just kind of... It always bums me out when somebody that was that ahead of their time dies before they get any recognition for it. And then...
Robert E. Howard, dead by 30.
Yeah.
A young
also
man,
by suicide.
By suicide, thinking that he was a loser. Plugged himself in the head with a fucking Colt 32 pocket hammerless.
He did, 30 years
Excellent
old.
pistol, but fucking dumbass. Dumbass.
Well, like I said...
In a moment of weakness.
His mom had died.
Yeah.
And he couldn't handle it.
He would have been great on the radio and in fucking Hollywood. There's so many stories he could have told on the radio and in film.
I know. See, that kind of shit bums me out because it's just kind of like, man, the potential.
And he was great with fucking westerns.
And I just wish that everybody...
And Lovecraft was great too, man.
I just wish that everybody that was that talented or that influential, like, knew it.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks that they have to die, and then, like, years later, people are like, oh, that's good shit.
Then Ashton Smith was crushed by those two deaths, and he basically retired from writing, and he was... he lived a lot longer and wrote a lot of shit, and fucking... It's a shame that the death of those two guys stifled him, because he would have been great, too. But he saw his two buddies die, and fucking that was it. He was done. Fucked him up.
I mean, yeah.
Sad.
I can imagine.
Yeah, he's like, we're losers. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're pioneers on a frontier.
But that's hard to see.
For some new shit that was coming. But how would you know? How would you
That's
know?
hard to see from the ground. You can really only see it in hindsight.
Yeah, right. How would you know?
You know what I mean? Which, like I said, that's kind of the shit of it all.
Yeah.
Is you can't really know in the moment.
Right.
You just feel like, you know, if you're some band or something that's like, man, we're not selling any records or something like that. Right. But then like 30 years later, people are like, oh my God, this band was like the most influential fucking ever. But they're all dead by now.
Yeah, they're all dead.
And they all died broke. You know what I mean? It's sad. But like I said, talent's not always rewarded at the time.
No, it's in hindsight. Ridiculous. But
now, I mean, you know, some people do get famous for their shit during the time. But it's like, I'm always kind of like more sad about people like Connie Converse that just didn't get their due at the time and then like died or, you know, whatever happened to her, thinking that she was a failure, you know, when it's like she was really, like Tom said, like a pioneer. Like no one was doing that shit back then. And like everybody, you know, people know it now, but back then they didn't. So she probably felt like a loser. So I feel like her friend, Gene Deitch, the one who recorded her in the 50s, he was really instrumental in getting her story known. Because I feel like if he hadn't been around, I don't know if anybody would really remember her as just maybe like a footnote. But he was on a radio show in New York City in the early 2000s, which was called Spinning on Air. And he still had all of her recordings that he made in the 50s. And he played some of them. And there was like a big response to it. It's like, you know, wow. He's like, yeah, I recorded her in the 50s. And people were like, holy shit. You know what I mean? It was like a big deal. So in 2009, they compiled a bunch of her songs and put them on an album. Like him, he actually started a small record label called Squirrel Thing, which was a line from one of her songs. And put out the album on this label in 2009, and it was called How Sad, How Lovely, which you can listen to the whole thing on YouTube. That's a lot of her recordings, and people really like responded to it. Like I said, I think all her shit is like on Spotify now and stuff like that, and people started streaming it and shit. I saw a video by a young woman who discovered her music because it was in the background of a TikTok video. And she liked the song, and she's like, oh, who's that? And she did Shazam on it.
Yeah.
And then she found out who it was, and then she went back and, like, did a whole deep dive, like, into the history and everything. So I kind of feel like that's how a lot of people, like, kind of discover her music nowadays.
That's one of the fucking marvelous things about the internet and what's possible with social media. Everything of the past that's been recorded is now instantly available. Man, that's a dream come true for Gen X. You had to
because man, it was such a bitch to get stuff back in the day.
Bitch to get shit. I couldn't get Strawberry Switchblade because that was an obscure band here in the United States. I can get that at any time. They're on my friends list. Those girls are on my friends list now. Fucking, it's just like, and they're getting new fans. You know what I mean? That band's more appreciated now than it was back in fucking 83. Because they can reach more people. Instantly.
I would argue, I was looking at, I saw kind of a discussion earlier this week where people were talking about the pros and cons of, you know, there being the internet, and this is specifically about music. Pros and cons of the internet, they're like, you know, people that grew up like Gen X and before were kind of like, yes, it was much harder to get music, but did that make you appreciate it more?
Yeah,
like now that you can get anything you want at any time, you know, does it cheapen it?
It kind of does, but if you're looking for it, it doesn't.
I mean, I guess you could argue on both sides, but honestly, I like the way it is now. I like just being able to be like, I could stumble across some random ass song. Like, you know what I mean? We were watching TV like months ago and heard that fucking song in that commercial. I'm like, man, that's a great fucking song. Who is that? Yeah. And like, you Shazam it, and it's just like this French song from the 70s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like, I went on Spotify and like found it, and it's like, would that have happened without the internet? No.
Yeah.
Like, if we didn't have the internet, I'd have seen that commercial and be like, man, that's a cool song. Never going to find out what that is. You know what I mean? But now it took 5 minutes, like, to find out what that song was. And then, like, I added it to the Spotify list, and it's just like, and that's really cool. I was, it was really hard to do that back in the day. Everything was like a pain to get hold of, and a lot of shit, you just didn't hear it because it wasn't available. Like, you had to go to the record store, you had to buy imports, and they were super expensive, and all this other kind of shit. Like I said, I was lucky because, I grew up in kind of a shitty, like, rednecky kind of town, but there was a kid, really, he was only a couple years older than me, but his dad was rich, and he was real into, like, indie music, and he owned, his dad bought him a record store, like a little bitty record store, and so he would get all the shit, like, that was his thing, and so he would record stuff because he knew I was broke, so he would, like, record tapes for me, and shit like that. Oh, that came out really good.
Yeah, I'm going to save that.
Oh, I'm going to use that for my fucking...
Yeah.
Man, because people take pictures of us at the club, and a lot of times they don't come out too good. But that one's fantastic. Look at that. That was from Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you show it on the thing?
No, I'll show it in a minute. I'll show it again.
Who took that?
Rachel.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember.
Rachel Thorpe.
Thank God.
Where is that again? There it is.
There it is. Send me that too, because... Right. Get that. Our friend Rachel took that on Friday. Last Friday.
Yeah.
That came out really good.
Yeah.
Hooray. Yeah, send me that shit too. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure she's on my friends list too, but I don't want to have to hunt for it.
That's Rachel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. She took that Friday night.
There's the girls. That's goth shit there.
Goth shit. Yeah, that was at Abyss on Friday.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fun night. Man, our tab was like so low. I was shocked at the end of the night. What was it, $54? I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
I'm like, is that right? Although I wasn't feeling all that well, so it's like, because I was still kind of a little bit sick, but so I actually just had soda and stuff. Zach says, I was listening to Connie's music earlier and found a similar album that's also fantastic, Color Green by Sybil Bear. Yeah, it's just like once you go down that rabbit hole. So like I said, that's why I'm never going to piss and moan about, oh, it was better back in my day. It's like, it's so much easier nowadays. And like I said, I like the fact that almost all music is instantly available. So I kind of feel like the generation doesn't matter anymore, which I think is a good thing. Because like I said, we know lots of like people in their 20s that are listening to old shit that like we listened to when we were in our 20s, like many, many years ago. Because it's new to them, and it's like, hey, this is good. It's all good. They don't care what year it came from. You don't really have that specific tying into different generations like you had prior to the internet, prior to all music being available. So I like that. But it's sad that it took until the 2000s for Connie to become known. And I feel like if her friend hadn't been on that radio show and hadn't had all those recordings, I kind of feel like she might have just been forgotten about. I mean, I'm glad she wasn't. It's just that, man, there were like a lot of circumstances that had to align. And man, fair play to fucking Gene Deitch. He was in there for the long haul, man. That was a true friend right there. He kept all of her fucking recordings. And then, like 50 years later, he's on a radio show. He's like, man, this chick was awesome. Like, here, play some of her shit. And that's how everybody found out who she was, from that. So, I kind of feel like this, similar thing happened with Lovecraft and stuff like that. I kind of feel like if it wasn't for August Derleth, I don't know if he would have forgotten about, but I mean, August Derleth really like pushed his shit after, and he started a publishing company that published all his stuff and everything like that. So it's good to have like a champion. that can do shit for you like after you're gone. You know what I mean? To make you remembered. So after that radio show, and then later on, like her music kind of became better known as people realized that she was kind of like a proto Bob Dylan, I guess, in a lot of ways. She's not super Bob Dylan-y, but it's like I get what they're getting at, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of introspective folk rock that wasn't really a thing back then. So they reissued it in 2023, and also they did a box set of her music's thing that she had sent to her brother initially, and then there was a biography of her that came out the same year, and I think that kind of cemented. I mean, there was even an article about her in Rolling Stone and all this other kind of stuff. So I feel like her place has been cemented now, and even though I'm sure she didn't live to see it, you know, at least that fucking happened. You know what I mean? So even though it's sad that I'm sure that she did not live to see it. But maybe she did, you know? I kind of like to think maybe she did. I doubt it, but, you know, I kind of just want to think that, you know what I'm saying? Did you send me that picture?
Yeah, I sent it.
Oh, okay. I might use that for profile
I'm
picture.
using my profile picture, yeah.
Yeah. Is that nerdy, like, to use the same profile picture?
No, it's all good. That's a good.
Because my profile picture is old, so
yeah, it's a good picture.
I haven't changed it in a long time.
Sandy Lauren's giving us the hearts.
Aw.
Remember her? Haven't seen her around in a while. When you see her picture, when you see her face,
I'm sure I'll remember. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Haven't seen her around in a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in a long time either. Yeah. That picture did really come out good.
Yeah.
For a change, like I said. Although that other
usually gets we're grimacing and fucking so fucked up or fucking sweat and shit and drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know why people want to take pictures like
when we're fucked up.
Late
We're like, we're like in troll mode.
When we're all sweaty and drunk.
Yeah.
But well no, I mean that picture you were using for your profile of me and you that was also taken at Abyss. I think Charisse took that. You know what I mean? The one you use on YouTube and stuff. That was a pretty good. I like that one better though. That new one. But yeah, I'm gonna use that for my profile picture too. I'm gonna change it like right after this show. Okay. That's what I'm gonna do. Because it came out good.
I also took a picture of Jen's booty. Take a video of Jen's
booty.
Oh,
you still got that?
Yeah. That's from this week. Look how hot Jen's looking in her outfit. I was showing her what she looked like. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what night was that?
She'd been working out. Fucking that was last weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
This weekend, yeah.
I think that was Saturday. Yeah.
Oh man.
You all right?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, I feel like my voice is gonna conk out on me again, and I don't want to. We both been like waking up coughing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I slept through most of the night. Like Tom woke up and he was coughing at like 2, and he thought he woke me up, but I was like, no, I was awake already because I had to pee. But like, he felt bad for waking me up. But my throat was like so fucking sore when I woke up. I don't know what this fucking crud is, but I'll be glad when it's gone. That's for sure. But yeah, so I guess we're gonna wrap it up for this evening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, I go down these rabbit holes with these shows, man. It's just like, especially if it's a topic that I didn't know about before, which I didn't know about this one. And I was like, how did I never hear about this? This is crazy. So yeah, I got all into it. I was like listening to all her songs and shit like that, like earlier. But yeah, it's a fascinating story. It's kind of a tragic story, kind of maybe sad a little bit. But, you know, I just kind of wish that she knew that people appreciated her, you know, before she was gone. But I don't know if she did or not. I like to think so, but I don't think that's what happened, sadly. All right, so we are gonna wrap it up for this evening. I'm gonna get something else to drink, maybe watch a documentary or something before I go to sleep.
Tomorrow it's 10 o'clock.
I know, but I wanted to watch. I wanted to like kind of chill out and like watch something before I go to sleep. You know what I mean?
We can do that.
Might not watch the whole thing, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a shower anyway. Man,
all right.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
It is, yeah. So, like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this evening. Thank you for your super chats. Have a good rest of your evening. Have a good day tomorrow. We'll see you again on Friday night for the Sidetrack show. Hopefully my voice will be back by then and I won't be coughing every 5 seconds. My nose won't be all blocked up, because I'm sure that's doesn't sound too great. But yeah, so we will see you guys again on Friday night for the Sidetrack show. Good night.